And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night in the ARML. I am Blaine Singletary, and I am very pleased to welcome back Ennui to the commentator's desk tonight. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be watching and talking about Mahjong again after the long absence. It looks like Pio has a great hand as dealer here right off the bat.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We're jumping right into it. Looks like we're in East 2 already, and we've had some technical difficulties getting started here, but we're jumping right into the action. We have Tenpai now with the dealer, looking on a 5 and an 8-so. We see two of the 8-sos in hands right now, and all the 5s still yet to be seen. So great start, looks like, at least in this hand.
Well, and the 5-so is the Dora, so Pio will want to win on that or sumo, otherwise it'll be Richinomi.
That is true, but that'll be enough, especially right now, to, if not take the lead, depending on Uradora, definitely be a contender in the lead. It's still early on in this game. It's yet to really get cracked open. But picks up the 8, so not a Dora, but that'll be Ricci Sumo with an Uradora.
Found the Dora underneath the wall, it turns out.
There you go. It's all about that. East 2 continues as Pio moves into the lead. The Dora is East, and we see a great presence of the Manzu in this hand here with a few pairs, also pair in the Pinzu as well. Over on the right we have, which is Matthias's hand, we have a sequence in the Manzu with some other sequences forming up there as well. Looking across in Amadeus, also known as Anya's hand, we have some pairs and some sequences starting to form up, some good shapes in the Sozu as well. And over on the left, we have Joshua R. That hand's got an Anko of the 5 Mon ready to go, and a sequence in the Pinzu, and some good shapes in Sozu. So really everybody off to a pretty nice start here so far.
And Matthias now has a brilliant Ishanten, decided not to call for the open Tanyao. That would have been Tanyao only. There's so many ways to Tenpai, probably wants to get more value out of this.
Speaking of calls, though, Pio picking up the 1, 2, 3 in Manzu might be possibly looking at a Shinitsu here, perhaps.
I almost think it would have to be to get to a Yaku full Tenpai. It's going to be hard to get rid of the 446 for a Chanta, but Matthias did get that Tenpai on the right and takes the Nobitan weight for the 1 Mon and 4 Mon that is Richinomi.
Mm-hmm. We're not likely to see those come out of the dealer's hand here. But now dealer is Tenpai for 8 Mon. Of course, no Yaku in this hand yet. No, that's not true. He's not in Tenpai.
Josh on the left, though, is Tenpai, waiting on the 6 Mon and 7 Mon.
That's what I was seeing lit up there. There we go. 2 pairs called right now. That'll be open Tanyao in that case. Meanwhile, dealer Pio adding to the Manzu stash here. Flips over the Uradora. That's going to add some value to this hand. 2 Doras added, in fact.
Yeah, this is a dangerous situation now.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pio's hand is still awkward, despite having all those Manzu. It's still 2 Shanten.
Right, and you have to count on the wall giving you the rest of those Manzu. In this case, drops the green dragon because already one's down there, so you don't want to be 4-10 on off of all this. Looks like folding now though. And probably a good case you did. Open Tanyao from Joshua to end this dealer turn. Moving into East 3.
An unfortunate deal in for Matthias there, whose hand started out just so great.
Absolutely. Well, we're moving on to East 3 now. The Dora is 7 Mon. We got some pairs going on in the dealer's hand right now as Matthias takes the reins. With the 5 and the 6 in the Pinzu, and a good sequence shape in the Sozu right now. Over on the right, a sequence in the Manzu, as well as a good sequence in the Sozu as well. Good shapes here for the rest of that hand. That's looking pretty nicely put together. Across 3 pairs right now, and a good presence of the Manzu to either, well, there's a sequence complete and one just about complete. And on the left, we see Pio going for Manzu again, but with that sequence of the 7, 8, 9, might be deciding to maybe play a little bit more conservatively here.
I imagine Matthias will open up for the Tanyao here now that he has 2 of the Dora 7 Mon.
That is true. Neglected to mention that, but you're absolutely right. Meanwhile, Dealer moving to Ishan 10, I believe. Well, maybe not quite.
Too many shapes, so
That's
still
true, yeah.
2 Shanten.
They all look good, but it's going to take some time. Passes on another pair there. That might help things a little bit, but decides not to. Well,
Yeah,
again,
that
it would be
5, 5,
another
6,
shape.
6 shape always seems like such a hindrance, because if you draw a 4 or a 7, you'd like to keep it for the Apeco, but then you can't discard the 7 Mon, which would be your weakest shape otherwise. Oh, but Anya is going to get Tenpai first on the right. Looks like waiting on the 5 peen and the 8 peen. That is Riichi Tanyao Pinfu with 1 Dora.
Dealer picking up the 8 peen here. Doesn't quite fit in this hand, but probably thinking that looks dangerous. Gonna throw the 2 instead. The 2 Mon.
The 2 Mon's kind of an interesting discard. It doesn't look particularly safe.
And now leaning into more pairs. That's 4 pairs in this hand now. Meanwhile, across, the 8-so was called for the triplet there. Probably looking to either go for a defensive Toy, but that's a bit late to do now with only 10 tiles left. So probably just looking to ride this one out without any consequences.
Everyone's just trying to evade this hand while still move towards K10, but people just keep drawing nasty tiles, and there we go. The 8 peen comes out of Matthias' hand. And that's going to be a pretty unfortunate deal in. No Ura, but that's still a Mongon.
Right, that's going to reverse some fortunes there, sending Matthias lower, below that 30k threshold, and Anya moving into a pretty competitive second as we move into East 4. The Dora is 7 Mon. Anya taking the dealership now. Has a hand that can very easily accept the Dora. Otherwise, you have a good sequence in Manzu and some good shapes forming up in the Sozu. Looking on the right, we have some good pair, 3 pairs in fact, of the Manzu, Sozu, and the White Dragon. Oh, and now that becomes an Anko in the Sozu. Speaking of Ankos, 2 of them already in the hand across. Pio looking at, wow, that could turn into something pretty fierce here with those other 2 pairs in the Manzu. I'm thinking there's a chance, especially this early on, for Suanko, but a lot of things have to go right for that to happen, of course.
Yeah, it's an awkward collection of tiles, because if you draw the 7-so first, you're probably going to want to call Riichi with Tanyao and a possible Sananko chance. If you went on Dama Ron, it would be Tanyao only. But if you draw the 2 Mon or the 4 Mon, you can Dama and wait around for the Suanko.
Riichi.
Absolutely, but it'll be Anya getting to Tenpai first, waiting on the 7 peen 8-so. Or what looks to be... That'd be Riichi Nomi?
Riichi Dora 1.
Oh, that's right, Dora 1.
And this is incredibly unfortunate for Pio, who's Ishan 10 for that Suanko, and that 8-so is going to have to come out of the hand for that
there
to happen.
It is. Right as, of course, that was Josh calling Riichi there, putting the stick in and adding that to Anya's total at the end of this hand. That gives Anya the lead now with over 42,000 points. As we continue East 4, the Dora is 2 Mon, And this hand already has a sequence together with the Sozu and some other good shapes that could easily turn into more sequences. Some other pairs wandering into this hand as well. On the right, see some sequences there with a pair and some other good shapes right now. Across, we see in Pio's hand while we saw lots of Onkos last time, it's a lot of sequences this time. This looks like just about set to roll. Meanwhile, Matthias calling the second set here. We see the Hatsu and the 1-2-3 Manzu getting very close to a call there, but there's Ricci already by Matthias.
3-mon, 6-mon for Ricci Pinfu. That was a really interesting call for Matthias on the left. It didn't actually improve the Shanten of the hand. A slightly better shape, and it ends up paying off. Sumo's the 3-mon for the Hatsudora 1.
There you go. Sometimes the simple stuff that gets the job done, and that's going to move Matthias into third place to the half. South 1 now, with the Dora being 1 so. We see one of that in this hand, but look at those pairs of East and South, which are both the seat and round wins for Joshua here. The rest of the hand, though, gonna need some work, but we'll see what happens. Looking at the hand on the right, we see a great presence in the Manzu, some sequences there, and some other somewhat encouraging shapes. I'm not so sure about the Pinzu there, but we'll see what happens. Could be looking at a Chinitsu, if you really get lucky. Up across in Matthias's hand, we see a great presence in the Pinzu. Some pairs and a sequence there.
Yeah, that's Ishanten already.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. That is looking sick. Meanwhile, Anya has an Anko of the 3-mon, a pair of the 2-mon, also some pairs in the other suit as in Pinzu as well. And
also Ishanten.
Also Ishanten. So we have a very fast-moving hand here.
And Pio's Ishanten as well. So Ishanten's just kind of all around everybody except for the dealer Josh. And Josh's hand looked so good before we looked at everyone else's.
Absolutely. Even Pio having a chance at a flush there. Not so much now with the pace this is going. Not that Pio could really tell that, as no sets have been called at this point.
Josh does draw into the Sanminchan and the Pinzu, which might help him catch up here.
Matthias picking up an Anko of the 7, though you might keep the pair and the sequence in this case.
Yeah, those are some awkward shapes for Matthias. Because the 6-pin doesn't get you Tenpai. I feel like with the 3-5, I think a step back in Shanten was taken when the 3-pin was discarded.
Anya, I believe, is having a pretty difficult time as well. That's somewhat awkward. I mean, it looks a little bit more put together, but you're kind of looking for that 5-pin and really not much else.
And Josh, the first person to Tenpai, was 3 Shanten, while everybody else was Ishanten, and somehow gets there first, now waiting on 1-4-7-pin. East only, but you'll take that, especially if you had seen the high pay.
The 1 pin comes out, and that's a Roan from Josh. It's East only, but that will be enough to continue as dealership, moving just below that 30k threshold as we continue South 1. The Dora is 7-pin, and we see two pairs of wins again, South and West this time. Also a pair of Manzu and a pair in the Sozu suits as well. Looking on the right, another pair of West there as well. None of these belong to the right people, unfortunately, but a good presence in the Manzu there could turn this into a half flush of some sort. Matthias, meanwhile, has a good sequence shape in the Pinzu and some working shapes in the other suits as well. And on the left, Anya with a great sequence in Pinzu to a pair there and some other good shapes forming up on their hand as well.
That is a beautiful Sozu shape. That is Ishanten, right?
I believe so, yes. You've got 1, 2-ish, 3 sequences and a pair.
It's a super perfect Ishanten. You've
Right,
got
that's a
2 San
three-sided-
Minchan and 2 pairs.
Right. 2 3-sided weights. That is impressive. I'm wondering about, well, it looks like Pio moves to the half-flush shape now. But see 2 people waiting on these pairs of Wests, none of which are the seat wind. How long do you hang on to a non-relevant Yakuhai pair in your hand in this situation?
You mean an honor pair that's not a Yakuhai?
Right, that's what I meant to say, which I said in a really weird way, but yeah.
With Pio's hand, I would be willing to wait quite a while. I mean, that's Ishanten from a closed Honitsu Chi toy. You could also pretty easily get a Chanta Honitsu open. Matthias, though, gets Tenpai first. That's Richi Dora 1 waiting on the 3-mon only.
1 3-mon already down, the other one waiting in Josh's hand. We also have Tenpai with Anya, but it'll be Josh taking this one. Sorry, not Josh. That is Matthias taking home this one with a few Han to add to their collection. That'll move him just above Josh into 3rd place. Actually, that's 2nd place.
And Josh had also entered a Dama Tenpai as dealer there with the South Anko waiting on a Ryanman wait. So that was a very quick hand for everyone.
Yeah, just coming together all at the last minute. We've seen that plenty of times so far this season. Speaking of quick hands, look at Pio's already Tenpai. Got to say, we got 3 sequences all ready to go, and there's the 4th. The 3rd and the 4th, yes, and waiting on that 7-peen to finish things off for the pair. And picks it up!
What? Was the North call? No, that was Batsu. Jeez.
That's Batsu. The North came much just before the Richi call. Wow. Pio taking charge here, moving into first on that one. South 2 continues.
Dorataki and Patsumo. Oh my goodness.
Wow. That was... I mean, the only way that could get better is if it was double Richi. That would have been insane. Because that means you're just 1 step away from Tenno at that point, but good grief. Anyway, South 2 continues, as I said, and we have another pretty challenge, a good commanding hand at this point for Pio. A sequence already locked in, 2 pairs in the Manzu. The rest of the hand's going to take some working, though, with some edge weights and a middle tile just sitting by itself. The door is 4-peen, and we see one with Matthias' hand right now.
And Josh on the left actually has a pretty nice Ishanten to end up on a terminal Shenpon there.
Wow, interesting. And up across we see Anya with picking up another pair there, with an Anko also in hand. That could turn into something pretty explosive. But that's just 2nd place, so you just need a little bit to your way to the finish, or to the lead here.
Completes a shape. Is now Ishanten. Oh, but Josh is going to get there first and gets that terminal Shenpon waiting on the 1-peen and the 9-so. That is Richi only.
But we're Mochi with that 1-peen in Pio's hand and hanging on to that 9-so, though, which still pretty orphaned, so that could come out... That would be near the top of my list to discard in this case.
Yeah, Pio has the great unfortune of having 75% of the winning tiles here.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Matthias is coming a good way with their hand, but we've got another Richi from Anya up top. 7-so 4-peen weight here. Another Shenpon.
Richi Tanya Aldora 2. That one is much more expensive. And as Eric mentioned in the chat, the 2-peen has now become 1 chance with that Richi. Now to Pio, the 2-peen has a Kabe, so that 1-peen is, I feel, almost certain to come out any second now.
Wow. So one of those from either hand, you think? Well, I guess he can't come out of the Josh's hand, so it ought to be Pio's, yeah.
The question is just if Pio can keep drawing Genbutsu, all will be well. There's the 5 Mon, so Pio's going to be able to fold for a little bit here. Only needs a couple more good draws.
Come.
Con!
Anya calling a con. Pick up a Rinshan tile, but doesn't get that luck. Just barely missing, too.
The green dragon, the new Dora, which helps no one.
Absolutely. But it looks like despite all these efforts, that's going to come down to a draw. But you pick up that Dora and you start thinking, But you put it down. And that'll be to the draw with Pio and Mathstar giving up 1,500 points to the people across the table from them. And that's enough to put Anya in the lead now as we head into South 3. Dora is 4 Mon here in South 3. We have a hand that could pretty easily take that and benefit from it, but it's a lot of closed weights, a lot of just hodgepodge of odds in the Manzu, evens in the Pinzu, and I don't know what's happening in Sozu, so that's got a lot of work for you there, dealer. Anya, meanwhile, Anko of the 9-So, and some pretty nice together shapes there so far, and good tiles can slot right in there. Looking across, we have a sequence in the Pinzu, some sequence in the Sozu as well, and some pairs and much more to really keep that hand competitive. Looking at the left, though, Pio's got a pair in Manzu and Pinzu, a couple pairs in Pinzu, and also the White Dragon pair as well.
I keep looking at Josh's hand. It really feels like it should be Ishanten, but it's not. It's just an incredibly good Tushanten.
Right, when you've got those 4... Well, they're not quite 4 sequences there. 5 would make that a nice 3-sided weight. But picking up a pair there will help.
It doesn't have a dedicated 5th block, really.
That is true. Meanwhile, Dealer's got 3 sequences locked in. Ishanten waiting for one of those almost to the edge open weights to come through here. Picking up the wrong 9.
I think Matthias is still Tushanten, actually, because the 8 Mon is separate from the 5-6.
That is true. Right. No, you're absolutely right. Sometimes the tiles run together in my head. But we have Tenpai from Josh.
Riichi Tanyao Pinfu Dora 1, waiting on the 4-7 pin.
That'll be something to, I don't know, put you pretty deep in second. Well, not quite second. You've got a little ways to go there. But we also have Riichi from Anya waiting on, I believe, the
6-9 pin.
6 and 9. Nice. But there's the 4 pin now. Also dangerous. That Pio is picked up. I think they realize it's dangerous. Gonna put down the 8 and fold out of this one. Keeping that 200-point lead intact.
Yeah, and now that the Haku's been discarded by Matthias, it's going to be a little bit easier for Pio to get out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And actually calling for K10 here.
Interesting. Not calling the White Dragons, because those are 2 safe tiles you've got now to stay in this thing. But there's the 9 pin, and that'll go to Anya. It's Riichi Nomi, but that's enough to take the lead, now moving above 40k. As we head into the final round here, all last. The Dora is, that would be Green Dragon. And a great look at these Manzu here. 3 pairs in Manzu, and they're all pretty close together, so you can make Ipeko out of any of them should the stars align. The rest of the hand there have 4 rather awkward-looking tiles at the end with the red dragon, so you've got some work to do there. But on the right, we have a pair of the white dragons, followed by some nice sequences in Sozu with a pair and some other encouraging shapes. Pio as the sequence in Sozu, as well as some sequences in Pinzu and a few other tiles scattered about. We'll see how that goes. Looking on the left, Matthias with a Anko of the 7-so pairs in that suit as well as some good shapes in Manzu.
Yeah, all of these hands are rather clunky. Pio's hand's the one I feel is the best about, and that's saying something as the Manzu are a mess.
Right. 2, 6, and 9.
Well, that 17's a great draw, though.
That's nice. Josh picking that one up. Oh, Josh picking up a pawn now of the 1-so. That's Atazuke. Probably looking to just punch over into third place, I'd imagine, and hoping you pick up that last white dragon.
But is now's in an awkward spot, has the Yakulas Tenpai instead.
Right.
Oh, it didn't keep the 6-mon for the Atazuke. Could have discarded the 7-mon. Oh, perhaps is looking for Sanshoku. Oh, it's not Yakulas. On the 8-mon, it's Sanshoku. That makes sense. But you have to sumo it, or... Oh, no, the Richi stick helps. Now that Pio's called Richi, we have a 1/4/7 weight, and the 8-mon's going to deal into the Sanshoku.
Wow. That went from nothing to something very quickly, and that's going to give Josh third place as we finish this game here. Anya's going...
That was a fascinating hand, too, just because only the Richi stick made it to where Josh could even call that wrong, because without it, would have still been 100 points behind Matthias.
Wow, absolutely. Amadeus, also known as Anya, going home with 26 points. Pio getting 8 points. Josh is going to lose 12 points in this opening match, and Matthias losing 22.9. The scores have been updated on your screen. That's going to move Pio out of the demotion range. Meanwhile, Anya moving a little bit further into the middle, with Matthias dropping out of promotion range, and Josh staying in there with 35.3 total. But that's just game one. This is a 5-sum table, so we will have a rotation here with each one player sitting out each match. I believe the next one is getting ready to begin as we speak. This will contain Matthias, Anya, Pio, and Edwin coming in place of, I believe that would be Josh. Coming in place of Josh.
Yeah, it was interesting with the standings. Everyone just moved towards the center. The two people who were in the top half of the standings moved down, and the two people who were in the bottom half of the standings moved up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But we have Edwin now joining in, and he's at second place right now in the B2 division. Definitely night and day from how he was doing this time last season. He'd probably like to stay that way, I'd imagine. 74.7, and look at that separation between second and third there. Definitely setting the pace here, along with Shane.
Well, and that's fascinating too, because second and third both have 3 firsts.
That is impressive. Well, so does third, for that matter.
Right. Well, first, second, and third all have 3 firsts. So I'm really curious what that last place looked like for Ash that put them almost 40 points behind. I mean, half of Edwin's score despite having the same number of firsts.
All right. That had to have been a doozy. As it is right now, that puts them within 2 points of getting passed up by Josh, or maybe just a little over 2 points. Actually. And yeah, we'll have this game starting game 2 in just a little bit. Keep in mind, you can follow us right here on Twitch. Just hit that heart at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be notified whenever we go live with more Mahjong action. Like this match, starting right now. It's East 1, and the Dora is 1-so. We're seeing a sequence in the Pinzu right now with a couple of pairs, actually 3 pairs. That could look good if you find the white dragon and just go with it. Looking on the right, 3 pairs with the red dragon. Actually 4, if you include the one in Manzu. Some good shapes forming up there. Looking across as Edwin joins the fray, he's got an Ipeko just about right out the gate with the 4, 5, 6 in Sozu. Has some other tiles, though, that are going to make this a little bit clunkier, but that Yaku is locked in. And Pio, meanwhile, has a pair and some decent-looking shapes in the Sozu, also a pair of the Hatsu, but that's going to take a little bit of work to get that together. Picking up that 2-so is really going to help, though.
It was a really funny set of Hypei there with the Hatsu, Chun, and Haku all paired up in different people's hands to start, and it was the dealer Matthias who drew the third Haku before anyone else was able to get there. Is now Ishan 10.
Absolutely. Looking for a way to fill in one of those closed weights, or perhaps you could also get a 6 or a 2, 6-mon 2 pin. And there's another dragon weight completed, or rather set completed.
Home.
Oh, that's a really rough call for Matthias to see, but immediately draws the 5-mon. The 3-mon go away, and you're like, oh no, I needed that. But it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I got a different odd. Now just waiting on the 7-mon for Riichi Haku.
It's this early on. You don't see any of them discarded. We only see one of them in Anya's hand right now, looking a little bit tightened inside there, but that could come out. Possibly. I see other things you discard first.
The 7-mon seems like a pretty nice Kanchan. I mean, you see 2 5-mon, you see 2 6-mon, and you see 2 3-mon if you're Matthias. So,
but there's the 6-mon, so that's staying put for now, it seems.
And that is Tenpai as well for Anya, waiting on the 2-pin and 5-pin. This is Tenpai for Pio on the left. But it'd be a Furitin on Tonsu. Does not take it. Discards the 5-pin into Anya's Chun only instead.
There you go. Anya moving to an early lead as we head into East 2. She'll also get the dealership as well. The Dora is 1 pin. We see a sequence in the dealer's hand right now. All you see, there's a pair of Pinzu, encouraging shapes in Manzu, but otherwise some work to be done there indeed. Edwin, meanwhile, has a pair in the Pinzu and some shapes formed. Not a whole lot to speak of there as of yet. Also interesting to see Anya discarding the Dora right away, while Edwin's holding on to 2 of them. Pio, meanwhile, has a sequence in... not quite a sequence in the Manzu, but working for it. We're resolving a little bit of a pause here. So when we come back, we'll see how that hand has changed. And it's looking a little bit better. You have some pairs now. Moving on to Matthias's hand, though. Great presence in the Manzu here. Very strong. The other suits leave a little bit to be desired, but we'll see if you abandon them or hang on to them. Looks like, at least for now, not totally committing to the Manzu with that discard of the 8-mon.
A great draw there for Pio. Now Ishan 10. Perfect Ishan 10, as a matter of fact.
That hand really did come together during the little bit of a pause there.
It's always interesting when you have a San Menchan in your hand before you get to Tenpai, because you're sitting there like, oh, I have such good efficiency. I'm going to improve this hand so quickly, but you also really don't want to draw into it because that nice 3-sided weight when you call Riichi just feels so much more secure.
Absolutely. You can just catch so much more. It's all about widening your net, getting that great Riichi or Tenpai weight. Meanwhile, the dealer has got 2 sets locked in as well, and some pairs. I believe that's Nishan, or Ryanshan 10. Edwin looking to get his hand together. Of course, Edwin,
I mean,
league
when you're still
player.
3 Shan 10 at the end of the second row, you really don't feel good.
Yeah, you've got those Dora, and that's really your only sign of hope, but they really don't mean anything if you've not got anything to go with them.
Riichi.
Now we have the
Riichi
Riichi from
called.
Pio, finally, waiting on 1-pin, 4-pin.
Waiting on the Dora. Plus 2 4s that's already been discarded. I really don't see those coming out of Edwin's hand, though I believe he might be folding.
Yeah, you're so far away from Tenpai. Even though your hand could have value, it's unlikely to ever see the light of day. So that's Ricci Pinfu with a possible Dora if he can
Ricci.
find the last one for Pio. We do have Tenpai from both Matthias and Anya, though. The 3-0 is going to deal it. Oh! Is that? Oh, it's Ferritin.
Oh.
The 6-0 is the second discard for Matthias.
And the 6-0 comes out from Anya right away. That's gotta hurt.
つも
So by now, well, I was about to say you don't have much of a chance of drawing it, and definitely this hand's over. Anya picking up a Mongon, moving into a commanding lead, looking to take another win tonight as we head into a continuance of East 2. The Dora is North, and we're seeing, a rather difficult hand for the dealer starting out here. But you have a sequence in the Manzu, so hang on to that, see what you can do. Seeing a lot of honors just catching my eye in Pio's hand across. Seeing some honors there mixed in with some good fair amount of Manzu. But that'll be another difficult hand to work with. On the right, Edwin. I'm also not seeing much here, but you have a couple pairs, and some somewhat encouraging shapes. Matthias, that's looking pretty nicely put together already with a sequence locked in, some pairs that are close together, actually 2 sequences locked in now, and some shapes that could easily turn to more. In fact, there's another pickup.
Yeet.
There's 3 sequences. That's Ricci looking for the 7-pin, 8-pin. And I do have a correction. That last hand was not a Mongon. It was just the score boost from what was in the pot. A de facto Mongon, if you will. Actually, if it was dealer Mongon, it would be 12,000 points, so my mistake.
8,000 points is 8,000 points, regardless of whether it's a Mongon or not.
Right. That's just a fun thing to say with it. Mongon. Meanwhile, Edwin, playing into this Ricci here, or playing against it, I should say, picking up a sequence of 6, 7, 8. Probably looking to go for an open Tanyao just to maybe shut things down and keep things moving here.
Still 2 Shanten, though, so it's going to be... There's a lot of fighting that's going to have to be done, although none of those 7 or 8 pin are currently in hand for Edwin.
Mm-hmm. In fact, we don't see any of them out here at all for anybody's hand. 7 would fit nicely in Pio's hand right now. Well, somewhat. It would help, let us say that.
Pio has been playing pretty defensively in all the games that we've watched. Discarding that 6-mon from the 6, 7, 8 sequence there is pretty far away, so a fold is understandable.
And you are only 290. I mean, granted, it is 10,000 behind the lead, but there's plenty of game to go here. So you can really just let this one go and wait for a better shot to come your way.
I do find Mahjong to be quite the intense patience test.
Oh, absolutely.
We still haven't seen any more 7-pin or 8-pin drawn by anyone. Oh, and there it is!
Speak of the devil, there it is. He even picks up an
gets
Ura
the
Dora.
Ura. Richisumo Ura for the Monk. That one was a Mongon.
There you go. And that'll be the lead as well, moving to 35,300 points as we head into East 3. Edwin picking up dealership here. The Dora is 6-mon, one of those in this hand, but look at those honors. You have a pair of the South and the West, none of them Yakuhai. Picking up another Dora there, though, so maybe you do something with the pairs this time. On the right, for Pio, we also see some pairs, 4 pairs there as well. Might be looking to make some sequences out of that with that pickup. You got an Ipeko that's just about ready to finish if you pick up a 9 for the Pinzu, and he does! Very impressive.
Although this is Ishanten for Chitoy now.
Yeah, so you may not even go for it in this case. Matthias, meanwhile, we have some encouraging sequences in Pinzu and Sozu, but, picking up that Anko is going to help things, but definitely going to need a little bit of a boost here to catch up. Anya here has the Some pairs here with the Manzu and in the Sozu as well. And some other closed weights at the moment.
Edwin would really love to be able to call this Honitsu here and speed up, but just no tiles are coming out.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Pio has turned that pair of 7 pin into an Anko of 7 pin, but still Ishanten for Chitoi. Now picks up the 6 pin. I mean, if it keeps going this way, there's other things you could turn that into.
Elects not to call pawn on the 8-so, which makes sense. That would only... Oh, there's the Chitoi Tenpai.
Tenpai, yes. Gonna go Dama on this one, waiting on the 6 pin, which already 2 of them are out. Probably waiting for a better weight before you call the Ricci here.
Well, and Edwin now is Ishanten for a Honitsu Chitoi. Although I'm sure Edwin would call basically anything to get to Tenpai.
Right. You're a dealer, and you're a little bit behind right now. You want to get above the 30k threshold. Meanwhile, Pio switching weights to the 8-mon for this Chitoi. None of those are on the board yet, but we do see 2 of them in hand. He's going to make it official, though, picking up the Chun.
Hellweight Ricci on the Chun! Of course, if someone draws it, they will discard it instantly, I would presume, assuming it to be safe. But there's a good chance no one draws it. I mean, there's 14 tiles in the dead wall we can only currently.
And only 20 tiles left in the live wall. So you're betting it's one of those, and that people drop one, seeing that it's pretty safe. What do you think Edwin's thinking right now?
Edwin's probably thinking, where the hell are the Souths?
Right, just call one of them and you're set here for a Honitsu Dora 2. Just about.
Wouldn't mind picking up the last Haku or the last Sha either, but those are also just nowhere to be seen, it appears.
But picks up the Chun!
The Sumo on the Chun!
That is incredible. Was definitely planning on getting a Roan there, but that's going to be just fine. That's going to give you even more points. Well, maybe not. Well, points, I'm not quite sure.
It is more points.
There you go.
Sumo helps.
Absolutely. Pio moving into a commanding 3rd place here. It's a pretty close 3rd place. If you see these other 2 at 33,300, 33,700 across and to the right of you. And with this hand, you could easily make that leap to even more. We have an Anko of 4-so, and 3 other pairs could go for Chitoi again if you want to.
I mean, it could also be Tanyao Toy.
This is also true. Yeah. Looking at Matthias's hand, we see, we have some pairs in Pinzu and Manzu. Some encouraging sequences there, but we already see Pio taking up some serious speed, calling up that Toy. Looks like they're going for now 2 pin. Across, we also see a triplet of the 9-mon. And a triplet. A Khan. Calling it Khan.
That's fantastic. I mean, because that Khan, your Atazuke here with the Hatsu, and your Mochi Mochi with Edwin. Although Edwin has the advantage because Edwin also has the Haku in hand.
Yeah, we didn't quite get to his hand yet, but that's also a contender in this race.
I mean, Anya's effectively out of the race entirely.
Yeah.
There's no way for Anya to win unless Edwin decides to fold with the Hatsu against someone else's Ricci, I would presume. Pio did abandon the Toy for just a straight-up Tanyao, for what it's worth.
Makes sense. I mean, you don't need many points, and really what you need is continuance as dealer right now. And now Tenpai on 4-so, 6-so.
So that's Tanyao Dora 1 for Pio.
That's only 1 4-so left. One of them's called in one of the sequences now. Now we have Tenpai with, of course, Otozuke. Well, not quite. If you get the Hatsu, then it is a valid hand. But of course, as we mentioned, Edwin's got the 2 greens, and picking up that Anko of whites, not likely to drop those.
Yeah, and the 9-peen looks set to come out of Matthias's hand here, although the 6-peen's going to come out of Pio's first.
Ooh, there you go. Edwin picking up just the white dragon for this one, but that'll give him, well, a little bit closer to 3rd place now, pulling Pio below the 30k threshold as we head into South 1. It is halftime, and we are going right along with Forso as the Dora. We have an Anko of the 2-pin, some pairs in Manzu, and some sequences forming up in Pinzu as well. Looking on the right, we see some pairs, a sequence already locked in, and some closed shapes for Manzu and some other suits right now. That's going to be... that's pretty close, actually. In fact, calling the Hatsu is going to be very, very close there. Edwin, now, we see he just called the Wests. That's his seat win. That's Yakuhai. Gonna need some value to catch up, though. We do see a Dora in this hand, though, and that is Ishan 10, I believe. And over on the left, Pio with a good sequence in Manzu at the moment. And we see a pair and some other good shapes in the other suits.
I feel like we've seen so many pairs in Anko in this Hanchan. I feel like it's very easy to play tricks on yourself where, like, if you just see it twice, you think, wow, all I've seen are Anko. But I have just been getting that feeling from watching these hands.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Tenpai for Math Star here.
There we go. Math Star wanting to be the Math Star. What do you think of that, math teacher?
I don't know what a Math Star. You said Math Star, and rather than thinking about someone being a star at mathematics, I was thinking about, like, what is a star in math, like shape, like a shape rather than a qualification. Anya is Tenpai waiting for One-So and Forso.
There we go. One-So, Forso. Forso being the Dora, of course. But we see them all pretty much locked up in hands, an Anko of the Forso in Pio's hand, and that's part of a sequence in Edwin's hand. Both are not likely to come out, which leaves that One-So just left in the wall somewhere.
And Math Star isn't actually Tenpai. That's in fact 2 7-peen. I thought it was a 6-peen and a 7-peen, but eyes are hard.
Yes, that they are. But picks up the last One-So from the wall.
And Pio had just entered Tenpai for Sanshoku Dora 3. We have seen so many cheap hands just stealing points out from under Mongons left and right here.
And all those cheap hands means we have a barn burner for the South 2 right now. Anya and Math Star very close in this one, 34,400 to 33,200. Not much separation there as we head into South 2. The Dora is 9-So. Anya picking up a South Yakuhai right away. And we see some other pairs and another sequence called just like that. This hand's moving very quickly, so we better hit the other ones quick. The Sozu in Edwin's hand looking very commanding. You got some other pairs there as well. But man, Anya's already Tenpai, so only the best draws will do right now. 3 Mon and 6 Mon waiting right now.
There are only 3 left in the wall.
Incredible. Just 3 calls within the first row for Anya. There's the 3 Mon. Not going to drop that because that fits pretty nicely in Matthias's hand. Looking like, again, as you said, there's this trend of pairs. We're seeing those in this hand as well. If there's one hand that's bucking that trend, it looks like Pio's got 2 good sequences in Pinzu right now, but does have a pair of the Norths, which is not Yakuhai, but that can be your pair. We do all need a pair at the end of the day.
And that's perfect for Pinfu if you're able to draw that 8-so first.
Mm-hmm.
2 Dora now for Edwin.
That's right. The 9-so is the Dora, of course.
Edwin famously loves Chitoy and is now Ishanten for it.
There you go. I'm going to do something with the singletons there. There's the 3.
Oh.
4, but there's the 3 Mon. That'll go right into Anya's hand. Another cheap one, but that's all you need to start stacking on a little bit of separation in that lead there. That's going to put you a few Han away, at least, from Matthias. South 2 continuing now with 9 Pin as the Dora. We're looking at some good sequences so far in this dealer's hand, but Edwin's taking notes from Anya here and calling 2 sets automatically. South making that automatically 2 Han, and already the 1's called as well. Could easily swing the rest of this hand into a Honitsu. Anya taking note of that and calling a 1, 2, 3 Sosu.
Was Tenpai waiting on the 7-pin and then upgrades to the Champon on the 6-mon and the 9-pin, so now has double South, double Dora. So this is a Mongon, no matter how you win it. Oh, but there's the 7-pin!
Oh my lord.
I feel like I can hear Edwin's, groan of disgust on that draw.
But as it is, you're still Tenpai very early on. I don't think I'd get that disappointed, but, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, you're racing Anya here, who Anya has shown a willingness to call early, now has an even easier to call Ishanten.
Right. The taking a risk there, calling the 1, 2, 3 so first, hoping that White Dragon comes out, and it did just moments later. Now Tenpai on the 2-mon 4-pin.
There's 1 2-mon left in the wall, everything else is in people's hands. With that 5-mon draw, the 2-mon could easily be discarded, since that 5-mon upgrades the pair of 4s. Oh, but the 3-mon! The savior!
Ooh. Incredible.
Still 1 9-pin left in the wall. And both of the 6-mon.
There's the 6-mon in Pio's hand. Goop's gonna drop the 2 for another weight in another hand. Anya's gonna continue on as dealer, now moving 6,000 points ahead of second. And this South 2 continues. It's South 2 with Anya dominating as dealer right now. 4 pairs to start this hand off, including 2 Wests, not Yakuhai, but we'll take them. Looking over on the Edwin side, though, wow, we've got White Dragons, Red Dragons picking up the Manzu right now. This is going to turn to something pretty big. Already a White's out, no Daisangen chance here. But gotta pick up that Red Dragon here, and now waiting on...
just the East. So, I mean, this is only Chun Chanta.
Only Chun Chanta.
It was funny thinking about how huge that hand could have been, but if the East had been called before the Chun, well, I guess you still have to get one of the dragons to win, so you're always going to be 2 Han. Kan! The North is the new Dora that benefits a no one.
No Norths to be seen. Oh, there is one down. That was the first discard from Pio. Pio, meanwhile, has a sequence there locked in, probably detecting that this hand is not going to come together in time, though. The other Dora being 9-mon. We see 2 of them in Matthias's hand right now, which is part of a good Manzu presence.
Ooh, a nice Kanchan fill for Mathstar.
Anya picking up... I believe Anya is close. But we have Ricci from Pio now, looking for the 1-pin, 4-pin. We don't see those except in the discard pile at the moment. None of the 4-pins to be found.
There is Pio, who has just sumoed basically everything all game. Ricci sumo, Pinfu, Ipatsu, no Ura despite the 2 indicators, but that's enough to put you in second.
A very close second. Now, Anya's got to worry about Pio coming up from behind. South 3, as we move into that. The Dora is 6-0. Looking at Edwin's hand right now, we see 4 pairs from the start. That could turn into something. These pairs are also very close together, so that's nice. Plenty of possibilities. Nothing to be afraid of there. Pio picking up the Hatsu, though. You might want to be afraid of that, though. This hand also has a sequence locked in, as well as some pretty nice shapes. Picking up a pair of the 5-mon there. Matthias, on the other hand, Anko of the 9-so, and some good sequences just about... Well, there's one set in the Manzu. And Amadeus has a sequence locked in, 2 sequences in the Pinzu right now. Looking to push this more to the middle. Might be looking for a closed Tanya of some sort, or Pinfu, closed Pinfu Tanya. Well, no, you'd have to get rid of the Wests, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, trying to make that move at the very least could now get Ipeko.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dealer is close.
Jeez, just straight draws 3-pin, 4-pin, 5-pin right in a row to get Tenpai for the Ipeko Pinfu. Oh my goodness.
Mamma mia. Looking for the 6-mon, 9-mon to finish this one out, and gets the 9-mon.
Another Ipatsu mode. Ricci, Ipatsu, Sumo, Pinfu, Ipeko. Only one Ura needed for the Hanamon and gets it.
That's going to break this game open right just about at the buzzer. We're heading into all last now, and Pio, who was just 2,000 points away, now finds themselves 17,000 points away from the lead.
And notably underneath 30K, although holy cow, what a high pay this is.
Oh, if you're going to bridge that gap, this is the hand to do it with. I mean, look at it. We got a sequence in the Sozu, a sequence in the Pinzu, almost a sequence. Oh, there's a sequence in Pinzu.
Ishanten now.
This hand started hot and is only getting hotter. Meanwhile, Matthias on the right, we have a sequence in the Manzu, some good shapes to supplement it, with the Wests there also ready to go. But we have Tenpai from Pio already. This one might be over before we get through the hands. Looking on the 1-mon, 4-mon to finish this one out.
So Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 1, Tanyao on the 4-mon.
Now, there's not many situations where I'd feel discouraged about only having an East Wind Anko in my hand, but this is one of them for Anya, after seeing that very quick Ricci. Gotta build something here. Gonna drop the East right away. Doesn't matter. Pio picks up the 1-mon. It's not Ipatsu, but it's plenty of other things. That'll be 8,800 points to really keep things smashing through. As we head into South 4, continuing, Pio's in the lead now. Well, not quite. Bridging that gap. Yeah, it's 68,000 points from the lead.
6,800. Whoa, 68,000 would be a doozy.
Yeah. You know what is a doozy? This opening hand. Take a look at all these Pinzu right now. That could get explosive, but you also kind of want something fast. That could be a little bit not as speedy, but it does have some heft for sure.
Yeah, and it's awkward too with your floating tile in the Manzu being the 5, which is adjacent to the Dora 4-mon. Ishanten for Chitoi now, though.
There you go. That's
never mind. Discards the
not
3.
to. Passes up Ishanten here. Matthias, meanwhile, has some pairs and some sequences locked, but otherwise going to need a little bit of work to finish that one off. Looking across to Amadeus, we have some sequences there. A pair of the White Dragons looks encouraging. She's just looking to stay and get up here. Meanwhile, Edwin has...
Pio, I'm sorry. Pio just discarded away from the 3-4-so. Was Ishanten for a normal hands with Ipeko, but is going to greed for the Chinitsu here.
Wow. Calls the 3-pin
on Edwin's Ricci.
This could be... Wow. This could be a lot here. Had a chance to go for Rion Peko, I believe. Well, didn't quite see the hand before all this, but I mean, that is to abandon that and go for this, especially when you're dealer, and that could decide this match here.
5-so, 8-so's the wait for Edwin. Anya honestly would kind of like to deal in here. Riichi Pinfu, as long as too many Ura aren't hit, that's much better than Toi Toi Chinitsu.
But now Pio Tenpai, 7, 8, or 9 finishes off this hand.
Or a 6.
Or a 6.
Oh, but the 5
puts down the 5! Edwin's going to take that to, well, help cover up the last place there. But that'll be enough to mitigate some point loss. But still, seeing those Titan hands growing up, that's definitely the outcome I would have chosen, given the circumstances. Edwin's getting out of here with just 29 points lost. Matthias getting a 10-point loss there. Pio gaining 10 points, 0.2. And Anya going home with 29.3 in a commanding victory. We see the scores are now updated on the side of your screen. Edwin's going to hang on to second with that, though that giant lead we were talking about before with those 3 wins with first and second is no more. Now very much in reach of Ash. Meanwhile, everyone else, just as we saw before, moving to the middle. Anya, Matthias, and Pio are now out of the demotion or promotion range. But that was an exciting couple of games. We still got plenty more to see from this group, though, in the days to come.
Yeah, and this was actually just a fun side note. A very rare Hanchan where the final scores ended up almost perfectly symmetrical. Plus 29.3, minus 29.1, plus 10.2, and minus 10.4. I don't know if that makes anybody else as happy as it makes me, but I just felt like I should point it out.
You know, it looks very pleasing. I will say that. It looks very pleasing to the eye. It's like that golden ratio, they call it. You know, that standard of beauty that you see everywhere, or something like that. They talked about it in one of my design classes.
I mean, the golden ratio is very beautiful. It's not exactly like a half and half sort of thing, though. Like the golden ratio is like 1.618-ish.
Right, exactly. Well, we're getting word from the A1 table. There is starting in about 20 minutes, it seems. I believe we'll have another happening, at least happening later on from this point. So we'll be going to a break here for about 20 minutes. We'll see you at about the bottom of the hour with more action from the ARML. So don't go away. And we are back with more action on this Tuesday night in the ARML. I am, of course, Blaine Singletary, joined tonight by Ennui.
Oh, that's me.
Yes, that's you.
You
Ennui,
paused, and I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what Blaine's gonna say next." And then I was like, "Oh, wait, it's probably my turn to speak, huh?" I am incredibly excited to watch this table play. Not for any particular reason, like there's no specific matchup that I'm interested in, but I mean, Korak, obviously, we've commentated many times, and Luce and Minko, I played against last season in A2, and they are now both in A1, having pretty much dominated A2. And well, Luce doing very well once again in this new division, while Minko not doing too bad, just kind of near that +0 line, is hoping to make up ground here. And then Kenyon as well, we have been watching since the beta league, just play really, really solid.
Yeah, I believe Kenyon was close to taking the gold last season.
It's according to how you define close. I mean, Huang did end up winning by about 5,000 points, if memory serves.
That is true. Yeah, that is pretty dang close.
And our broadcast director, Jeremy, who is running things behind the scenes today, came in second in A1 last season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely. We've seen plenty of his matches here. We've gotten to broadcast them. Jeremy telling us in the comms chat, a distant second. I don't know. A second nonetheless in what was a very competitive A1, I gotta say. And things are looking no different this season. Luce, of course, in second, but Bichen Wang almost double the points ahead. Or rather, that same amount ahead, I should say. Double the points compared to Luce. But of course, it's only the beginning.
I mean, compare this to the B2 match that we were watching before. We were making the comment that first, second, third all had 3 firsts in their first session. Meanwhile, looking at A1, Bichen, the only player with 3 firsts in the entire division. Luce, in second, only has 1 first. That just goes to show how much more stable and evenly matched everybody in this division is as we get started here.
Absolutely. Tech Bro, also known as Minko, will be starting us off here. The Dora is 3 Mon, and there's one of them in Minko's hand right now. That'll happen to have some other good shapes in there as well, with the 6-pin 3-so as well. Korak is joining us on the south seat now on the right. We see a sequence in the Pinzu, and almost a sequence in the Sozu picking up there. Cross with the sequence in the Pinzu, as well as some pairs in the other suits, and also a white dragon pair as well. Yukitora, also known as Kinyan, is on the north seat starting off with a great presence in the Manzu right now. That's an Ipeco. You could turn that into several other things, though, but I think I see what's going to happen there. If things
Headless Ishanten now, although kind of a more awkward Headless Ishanten than you typically like to see. You'd like to have Ryanmen, and perhaps an Anko, but you'll take a Ryanmen pinch on Headless Ishanten when you already have confirmed value for sure.
Mm-hmm. Be nice to pick up those Dora 3 Mon, but you'll take this. Oh, you'll definitely take that. Going Dama, waiting only on the 9-so right now, probably looking for a better weight here. Still only the first row, or we're just getting through the first row.
You can win this Dama, though. It would unfortunately be just a 1 Hanron. Oh, I would be so tempted to call Ricci waiting on the south. Once cut honor.
Not going to call Ricci, but is going to switch that weight.
The issue is, I don't think there are any draws that upgrade the value of this hand other than Dora.
Right, and that would definitely feel right at home here. No Dora's cut yet.
Oh, I guess a 3-peen or a 5-peen would give you an odd Ryanman and allow you to have Pinfu.
All right, as it stands, we do see two 3-mons in Luce's hand right now to go with the other pairs. Oh, picking up a sequence in the Sozu now. That is Ishanten. But meanwhile, we see another Anko in the 8-mon now. That's a very sick-looking weight now.
Kenya's hand just lit up. The winning
Wow.
tiles are 4, 7, 8, 9. Do not ask me how.
But there's the 4.
That's not a Yaku, though.
That is true.
Because the 7s and the 8s would both be an Anko.
I'm wondering, I'm thinking why you wouldn't call Ricci beforehand, but there you go. Gonna call Ricci now on this very sick weight, as I mentioned. Katagiri.
Ricci only. But
I guess looking for more points, but once you see one of your weights come out, then that you gotta act. Dealer joining in on the Ricci action now with a 5 and an 8 so to finish off that.
Ricci Pinfu Dora 1 for Minko.
Mm-hmm. Scary looking hands, not a whole lot of value though. But nonetheless, people playing very cautiously here.
That's Tempai for Korak. Just has to push the 2-so, which is safe against Dealer.
There you go. He'll be waiting on the 8 and the 7. So,
and that's Tanyao, so can win it. But that's gonna be Sananko. No, it's not. The 5s. No,
that's 2 Anko.
The 5, 6, 7 still messed things up. So
just a step away from Greatless, but that is still a very modest lead. That's modest, but you could definitely grow something even bigger out of that. Korak taking leader. Korak is taking the dealership now. We see an Anko the 7 so automatically in this. Could be part of a sequence of the 7, 8, 9. You also have a 6 next door. The rest of the suits, though, leave a lot to be desired. Lots of odd numbers just sitting there waiting. Gotta think about what to do with those. Meanwhile, on the right, we have a sequence in the 2, 3, 4, and some pairs with the Sozu. Across, we see a lot of orphans.
9, to be specific.
9 orphans. Not, I don't believe that started as a possible Kyushu Q high.
It was 8.
It was
on
8.
draw.
But with those discards is signaling there might take a go at it.
I mean, it's kind of hard to go for anything else when the only paired up honor that you had was an offwind.
That's true.
You'd really, when you have 8 or 9 terminals or honors in a league match like this where you can't call an abort, you really want to be able to go for Honitsu or Chitoi or at the very least Yakuhai just to speed up your hand somewhat. But that hand had absolutely none of those options.
And that is true. We do not have an abortive draw on Kyushu Q-High in this league. More adhering with the WRC rules in that regard.
Minko, though, taking the call for the open Tanyao. Now Ishanten, headless.
Well, that would, it's still Ishanten, but closer. That's a much wider Ishanten now, I believe. Meanwhile, Korak picking up an Ipeko if you drop the 7 so. Still has to deal with that difficult tiles happening in the Manzu and Pinzu. But Techbro moving into Tenpai, waiting on the 5 and the 8. For an open Tanyao. And picks up the 5-mon.
Yeah, and Kenyon deals right in. And I understand, you're just kind of discarding simples on default with that hand, but when you're still only at 9 distinct terminals and honors at the end of row 1, I feel like that's when it might be a good idea just to start discarding all of those terminals and honors as safe tiles, assuming that someone might be Tenpai.
Mm-hmm. Just a little too late to react there, unfortunately. But it's only a 1,000-point hit, and that's still the lead for Yukatora at this point. Luce's dealer now, as we head into East 3 already, we see some sequences, or rather a sequence in this hand, and a pair. That could turn into much more. Heading on here. Let's see. Kinyon has an Anko of the 1 Mon, picks up the Easts early on. That's Ishanten. Waiting on... Actually, that's Tenpai. No.
Yeah.
Waiting on the 2 pin already, which is 5 discards in. See 2 of those in the hands right now. They look to be part of some good shapes, so I don't think those will be coming out, but we'll see.
You'd really like to draw, like, say, 9-so, 9-so, so that you could switch to Chanta. It's going to take a wider Ishanten instead of sticking with the 2-pin Kanchan.
All right. Might be testing the waters on that Chanta.
Chi.
Calls Chi. So there goes the Chanta idea, but is now Tenpai on 6 and 9, so a much wider Tenpai weight now. We only see one of the 9s discarded and one of the 6 in that sequence that was just called.
So 4 left in the wall.
Yes. Meanwhile, across, Ming Ko has an Anko in the 8 Mon and a pair and some other good shapes there. It's looking good, but it's got to get there a little bit faster to keep up. Korak, meanwhile, with a couple of pairs and a good sequence. Again, got to get something a little bit faster now in this stage of the hand, where you already see 2 sets called. And a Sumo. That'll end things. Another quick, not as high value hand, but that'll keep the lead for Yukatora. And we move on to East 4. The Dora is 4-so. We are seeing a rather difficult hand for Kinyon at the moment, but that pair will help things. You got a sequence going on, but otherwise some difficult shapes to deal with. But you just keep picking up stuff to fill that in, and you'll be at a Tenpai in no time. Looking at Tech Bro's hand now, we see a sequence and a pair in the Sozu, and also a pair in Pinzu Manzu as well. Looking across to Korak, we see a good sequence in the Pinzu and a pair in the Sozu. There's a little work to bring that one in. That pair will help that he just picked up, though. And on the left, we see a sequence and some pairs in Lucia's hand right now.
They're just kind of 2 Shantens all over the place.
That's true. Kinyon picking up an almost Ipeko now, waiting on a 2-mon to finish that up.
Korak's shapes shoring up a little bit would probably is holding out hope for a 1-2-3 Sanshoku currently. I imagine once another shape fills in, though, that 1-2 Pinchan might go away if the Sanshoku possibility is gone as well.
That's true. Kinyon keeping an Anko of the 1s now. Keeping the options open to go for another thing, too, with the 2s being, well, not as easy to come by, but picks up the 2, as we're talking about that. Gonna cut the 1 and keep that Ipeko.
So here we have our Kutsuki Ishanten. Just need to find any shape around the 5-mon or the 3-pin.
There you go. And
there
that'll do it.
It's on Minton! The best possible shape.
Incredible. 8, 5, or 2 pin will complete this hand. Of course, we see an Anko of the 8 pin across in Korak's hand. He also has a copy of the 5 and the 2 sitting there. See a 2 discarded, and also a 5 in Luce's hand.
So 8 of the 12 possible tiles already being used. Only 4 tiles of this 3-sided weight left in the wall. It is Riichi Penfu Ipeko.
The 5-pin will stick pretty nicely in the hand on the right.
7、
Also the hand on the left, possibly. The 2 would fit better in there. Korak could call Khan on this 8-pin. Gonna hang that in his hand for now and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't see Korak willingly giving the dealer more value here unless it directly benefits him.
Right. Little does he know that putting down that 8 is the tile he's looking for, but doesn't matter. We're gonna see that deal in instead from Tech Bro for 5,800 points plus a Riichi stick to give Kinyan an even 40,000.
Yeah, Minko was Tenpai for Tanyao Dora 1 and was electing to continue pushing the hand and unfortunately punished there.
With this hand, though, it's not looking too easy. The Dora is 6-pin. That could fit in this hand, but that would just make all of the evens for the Pinzu in that hand, which looks nice, but doesn't do you much good. You have some pairs in the Manzu, though, so some hope shines in this hand. Meanwhile, Minko with a sequence in Manzu and some pairs to go with it. Few missing tiles to make more sequences, but in the Pinzu and Sozu, not looking too promising. That 4-mon, though, could help some. So we'll see what they do with that. Meanwhile, Korak with some pairs and, well, rather a pair and some shapes, but not a whole lot else doing in that hand right now. And Loose has a good sequence in Pinzu and Anko in Sozu with some pairs to go along with it. That one's looking very nice indeed. A good contentious hand.
Ishanten for Loose.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Dealer is struggling to see what to do with all these closed weights in this hand right now.
Reach.
That's where weight feels more like weight, W-E-I-G-H-T. But we have Tenpai now for Loose, waiting on... That's another 3-sided weight, 2, 6, and 9.
For Loose?
Am I right?
Nah, it's just the 4-pin.
Oh, right. Sorry. I see that now. It's just dots and all that. But the 2 of the 4-pin are in Yukitora's hand after picking up another one.
Sumo.
But there's a Sumo for Loose. Riichi, Sumo, Dora. No love from the Ura Dora, but that'll put him above 30k.
Yeah, definitely a nice place to be sitting in as we walk into this South round here.
Yeah, as we head into the half. This game's moving rather quickly. The Dora is 8-so, and we're starting this hand off with 2 pairs and a sequence in the Manzu. The rest of the hand, though, is looking a little trashy right now, but we'll see what happens. Looking like this is leaning more into Manzu at the moment. On Korak's end of things, we see some good close shapes, but not really anything concrete as of yet. Meanwhile, Loose has a couple of pairs and a couple of good almost sequence shapes. Gonna need some help there, though. And Kinyan, meanwhile, calling that sequence of the 789 Pinzu, has some good Pinzu to go along with it, but has those Souths locked in, and that is the round win, so has Yakuhai at this
And now
point.
Tenpai.
And now Tenpai, yes.
Waiting on the 5-so and the 8-so. And a couple rounds ago, Minko elected not to chi the 3-mon, was immediately rewarded with a 3-mon draw, elects to take the 1-mon and 8-mon pawns now that Kenyan's hand is open, and is now Tenpai waiting on the Chun for a classic Bakahon here. Although you
Meanwhile,
can
the
easily
dealer-
get rid of that Chun to become a Chinitsu.
That's right. We saw that hand turn into a Honitsu Chinitsu very quickly. we're going to have a Tenpai from Korak, calling Ricci there, as he's apt to do, looking for the 1 and the 4 mon.
Ricci Pinfu Dora 1 at the moment for Korak.
There you go. Of course, all the 1s being called right now. 4 mon in the hands of Tech Bro and Loose right now.
And Minko more than happy to push into this Ricci.
And when you have a hand like that...
I mean, you have so many improvements to Chinitsu. I mean, you have 9 Chinitsu improvements, and you just can't pull any in. 9 different types of tiles, not 9 total tiles. Any Manzu will do.
Loose moves a Tenpai now, waiting on the 5 mon, 8 mon. Again, another one of those Manzu as in that triplet called by Minko.
Thinks long and hard about discarding the 3-so. However, I mean, when you have Tanya Dora 3, especially in Akanashi, you know no one else can have as much value as you except for Minko, who now has it. Finally pulls into the Chinitsu, can win on the, let's see, the 7 mon. Is that it?
I believe so. So it's a much higher scoring hand, but... Right. Meanwhile, Kinyan is trying to get this Tanyao finished off. 3 and 6 monitors. Wait, and there's the 6, but thinking about calling it here...
Oh no, it's Yakulis. The 9 peen is in one of those calls.
Oh, that's right. I totally missed that. It's a difficult situation. I don't really see how you bring this hand back around unless you go for... Well, no, you can't do Sanshoku anymore.
Minko had finally upgraded the weight there, but Korak gets the sumo for the 5200 hand there.
A very nice way to shut this scary situation down on Korak's end. Heading into South 2 now. The Dora is 8 mon. We don't see any Manzu in this hand right now, but we do see some, well, a pair and some encouraging looking shapes coming together here. Of course, that Hatsu looks pretty nice as well. You could pick up one of those and be just right. And possibly bringing that to a Honitsu, which with that call seems to show that maybe that's the way he's going to go. Meanwhile,
this is an incredibly Korak-esque call.
Right. And just get stepping forward with that plan, definitely getting rewarded for it at this moment. Loose has some sequences right now with the Pinzu and Sozu. We have a pair in the 9 mon as well. Kinyan with some good commanding pairs in the Manzu right now and also in Sozu. Good shapes to finish that as well, but definitely needs a little bit more to catch up with the pace of Korak now, calling his second pung there of the 2-so.
I mean, honestly, it's not going to be incredibly difficult to keep up with Korak if, you can make actual shapes, which is something Korak lacks right now. I mean, even with 3 calls, is still not Tenpai yet. And Minko, not really all that likely to drop the Hatsu. There it is, though. Gets the 6-so, waiting on the 4 and the 7.
Now you don't need the Hatsu.
Oh, man.
I mean, that could add even more value to Korak's hand should he choose to accept it, but then that leaves you with just that 1 tile. The rather awkward Tenpai. But Tech Bro, let's take a look at that hand. That could go Honitsu for the Manzu in this case. Meanwhile, Kinyan picking up that Anko of the 4-pin.
I mean, but is thinking really hard about what to discard. I mean, you suspect... I mean, Chinitsu seems a lot more likely than Honitsu for Korak, honestly.
So definitely got to hang on to that 9-so. even though that was part of one of the called ones, still could be dangerous in this situation, and the other players are taking note of that. Loose hanging on the 7-so.
That 7-so fits into Loose's hand very nicely.
That is true as well. Let's see, Minko passing up Tenpai. Well, no, not quite.
Yeah,
Chune's dead.
Right, the Chunes had already been discarded.
Minko trying to just sneak out of this one. You have that 5-so now, but that looks incredibly dangerous at this stage. Along with that 3-so. Maybe you just get lucky and make a new shape out of that.
Yeah, it's discarding the Easts, as a matter of fact. I mean, even though Minko's in last, it is not an entirely desperate situation with everybody so close to 30k. It would be incredibly difficult for anybody for one of these three players not to end up below 30k at some point.
Look at this. Minko made that shape, as I said, and now Tenpai on that Hatsu.
And that's an Itsu, so can win on the Hatsu. Which could come out of Loose's hand. Although, again, Loose has been playing a nice, disciplined style so far this Hanchan. Discarding the Hatsu into this Honitsu does not seem...
That's Tenpai there.
Reach.
There it is.
And now they're also waiting on the Hatsu.
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. The 1-so is one chance because you see the pawn of the 2-so and the pawn of the 1-so. So there is literally one shape that the 1-so can possibly deal into. So you take the Ricci waiting on the Hatsu and then...
But now you can't really capitalize on that because, well, one, we're at the end of the hand, but two, it's a separate Mochi Mochi in this case for Korak. And now they all see that the jig was up. Wow.
Oh, that was absolutely brilliant. I love that. That was great.
That's one of the most brilliant draws I think you'll ever see in Mahjong. That right there. Anyway, Set 2 continues. Since Korak was Tenpai, the Dora is the White Dragon now. We're seeing one completed sequence right now, and some other encouraging-looking shapes, but still has some work to go here. We see the Dora in Lucia's hand right now, with a sequence in the Sozu and a pair of the Manzu. Looking ahead to Katora's hand, we see a pair of the 1 Mon, picking up a pair of the 5-so there. Has some other encouraging-looking shapes. Has a little work to do, though. Minko, on the meantime, has a sequence and a pair and some other good shapes. Has a little work to do with
not 5 shapes, though, which...
Not 5 shapes, no.
Which is unfortunate for a Mahjong hand, which kind of requires it. Kenyan Ishanten now, though, with that Kanchan fill across the way.
And Minko picking up an Anko of the 5 Mon. Which is another shape technically, because you could have a pair and then the 5, 6, 7, if you want to go that way. Picks up another pair there as well.
Yeah, Korak has a nice two-shanten here, but just keeps drawing awkward tiles.
Still hoping to... I see that 6, 7, 9 in the hand over there. It's been like that since the start. Picks up the Dora now. Do you drop the 9? Oh, you drop the 6 and hang on to that Dora and see if maybe you can make something. Now we have 3 single Doras in 3 hands. Minko picking up another pair, though. And gonna drop the Dora, and that'll cause the Dora to drop from, well, 2 of the hands.
Yeah, I think Korak is keeping the 7, 8, 9 Sanshoku alive here.
Anko of the 4-so now in Minko's hand.
So that is Ishanten now.
Yeah, that's come away in a very short time.
Kenyan Ishanten as well.
Go.
Ishanten for Sanshoku. A 5-6-7 Sanshoku is possible if Kenyan gets to Tempai on the 7-so or 7-peen.
But look at this pickup by Korak now. That is Ishanten now. Well, no, not quite, because you still have that awkward 6-7-9 shape in the Manzu.
Oh,
It's gonna be.
That is Ishanten.
You're right, and that will put this to. Well, it's not quite Tenpai. Oh, that's a. Go ahead.
Minko with the Ontonsu weight, but that's going to be Tanyao. Let's see, on any sumo, it's Sananko. A Ron of the 5-mon would also be Sananko, because you have to interpret the win as the most expensive weight. So you would interpret the 5-mon as completing the 6-7 shape and leaving the closed 3-5-mon for the Sananko. So Riichi Tanyao Sananko unless a Ron on the 8-peen. That is the only way for this to not be Sananko.
Very interesting there. Korak now picked up a 5-pin just now. Or it was a 4-pin. I picked up something in that area. Again, you have that 9 that's just kind of sitting in there.
Sumo.
There's the
Sumo.
The 8-mon sumo. So Riichi Sumo Sananko, Tanyao, no Ura, but is going to get a Mangan. And look at the way that tightened up the scores. Minko being the only player below. Now everybody is within 2,000 points, or 2,400, I guess, if we want to be pedantic. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Problem with the mic here. Hello? Okay, there we go. Yes, and we're off to a incredible start here on this next hand here. South 3, as you said, very close scores from everybody now, and we see a white dragon call from Loose. At this stage of the game, you might criticize that for being too low value, but low value is all you need. I think I'll definitely take that. Meanwhile, Kinyan has a Anko of the 8-mon with a pair and a closed set in the Sozu right now. Some other good shapes forming up. Looking across, we see a pair of the Chun and a pair of the 9-mon. Not a whole lot else, but we can see where that goes. On the left, we see some sequences in the Manzu and the Sozu. Also a pair in both Pinzu and Sozu.
In other words, that is perfect Ishanten.
Absolutely. Let's see, so Loose here is... Oh, never mind. Loose here has 3 pairs, and that sequence in 1, 2, 3 Sozu. Korak's going to call Riichi, and Loose calls the tile. Hit 6, 7, 8.
Oh, and improve the weight.
Yes. To
avoid dealing in, we have Riichi Pinfu waiting on 2 5-peen for Korak, but it's going to lose to the Hakunomi.
There you go, 320. Still a close game as Loose takes the lead now. Anybody else could very easily take it here in these last 2 rounds of the game. The Dora is 3-so. We see one of those in this hand. We have 1, 2, 3 sequence in the Pinzu as well, and a couple of pairs to go along with it. That's rather competitive, I would say, but let's look at the other hands. We see a couple pairs in Yukitora's case, in Kinyan's hand. Some other work to be done there with the Manzu, and some honors you're picking up there. Meanwhile, Minko, we see a set of the 4, 5, 6 Sozu, and some other pairs go along with it. A good presence of Sozu there. Korak has a sequence in the Manzu with a pair in Pinzu and Sozu as well. But we already have Riichi from Minko waiting on
7-so.
7 so only. Korak picks it up, and so does Loose. They're knowing better to hang on to it there. Loose picking
That's
up.
Richidora 2 for Minko.
Yes, and Loose picking up all the odds in Sozu now. When treating this early Ricci with some respect.
Well, I mean, it's such an awkward position to be in, right? Because with the scores this close, any deal-in is going to put you in last. I mean, if you're dealing into a Ricci, anything other than Ricci Nomi, basically, is going to leave you stranded, and you'd be going into all last in that position, which you definitely don't want.
Yeah, you get yourself in last and not have time to recover in that case.
Oh, what a pickup for Loose.
Wow. That's going to add that dangerous tile to a sequence. That's Ishan 10 now, I believe.
It is indeed.
Camp the White Dragon now.
The Forza would be an interesting draw, as it would give a 258 weight, but be Ferritin.
It's true. Very interesting. Drops the white. Good safe tile in this situation.
Korak just folding here.
Korak keeping a third place, but a very close third place. You definitely have another pitch in another hand to go through.
Ooh, that was Tempai for Loose, not wanting to discard the Dora 3-so into the Ricci, though, understandably.
Going to defend this lead, no matter how little it is. Still a lead. It's still a win and some good points on the board.
Well, it won't be a lead anymore if this goes exhaustive with only Minko and Tempai. That would put Minko 100 points ahead of Loose, although Loose would still be above 30k.
That's right. You see the score differences on your screen there.
There's Tempai for Loose, though. Just have to discard the hot stick. It calls Ricci waiting on the Dora indicator tile with only 8 left, and Minko immediately sumos. What?
With Ricci, Sumo, Dora 2, no Uradora, but that's a 10,000 point pickup. That's going to change the complexion of this match very quickly as we move into all last. With Minko now sitting at over 10,000 points ahead of the dealer right now, and that dealer is, of course, in second place.
And Minko went from being the only player underneath 30k, gets 2 massive sumos, and is now the only player above 30k.
That's some serious points if you can carry that situation into the end with you. And that's a chance that Tech Bro Minko has to do here, and that pickup of the South looks to do exactly that. That's guaranteed 2 Han and very quickly done. See some pairs in that hand as well, 3 to be exact, and some other good shapes as well. That could be a hand that shuts this game down.
Korak fighting, though. Korak could win anything to take, let's see, 26-8 to 27-9, yes. Any one Han sumo would put Korak into second. Is Tempai now waiting on the 8-mon?
There you go.
A Ron off of Loose would be third with 27-8. A Ron off of Kenyon would be second, and then a Sumo would also be second, but every scenario leaves you under 30k.
This dealer hand, though, has gotten very competitive very fast.
The Chun's Dora, what the hell am I talking about?
Oh, that's right, yeah. There's still 3 left. Oh wait, no, they're called. That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, Korak can take the lead with this.
Oh, but the 1-mon's gonna deal into Kenyon.
Oh no. So that's good. There goes that prospect. So Tech Bro Minko is going to give up a little bit of their lead now to Kenyon to keep him in this game, keep this game going. Now just 100 below 30k. Or is 8 pin, And we'll definitely keep better track of that this time. One of them is in the dealer's hand right now. We see a sequence in the Manzu just about finished. Actually, there is one with some pairs going on as well. Another sequence in the Sozu. We have the South's Called yet again by Minko for 2 Han pickup automatically. We have some sequences and pairs in that hand as well to make that another good shot at shutting this down while keeping everybody below 30k. Korak, meanwhile, picked up another sequence with that draw, has 2 in this moment, and a couple pairs as well, including one in the Hatsu. On the left, we see Luce with a sequence in the Manzu and the Pinzu, but not a whole lot happening in the Sozu right now. All that 5 might help. Meanwhile, Dealer picking up 4 pairs.
A very nice draw for Luce there. That's why that Nobitan shape is so fantastic. We now have a beautiful Ishan 10 for Luce. Oh wait, that wasn't a Nobitan shape. There was 2 7s.
Yes.
I thought a 7 was a 6 again. But regardless, it's still a good shape.
It happens. We'll blame it on this crazy heat that's just battering everybody right now.
There's Tenpai for Luce.
Meanwhile, Kinyon has a nice hand, but that Dora is the sore thumb.
Luce staying Dama.
Waiting on the 3-so, 6-so.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because if you call Ricci, that puts you into 4th place. So if you call Ricci and then Minko wins small off of Kinyon, say, then you end up in 4th, despite the fact that you are Tenpai. So you're almost forced to stay Dama here.
Right. Well, and you can. This would be Pinfu. So there's a Dora in play here. Meanwhile, Korak picking up the Hatsu. That's going to put him to Ishan 10.
Kinyon Ishan 10 as well.
Now has a shape to start forming around that Dora, so keeping the faith in the Dora has paid off, but now that 4 pickup makes things a little awkward.
It makes things much better. It is now perfect Ishan 10, able to discard away from that 2-2-3-3 shape and just make it 1. Korak going to deal into Luce, though, which is not going to be enough to take 2nd. That is the one bad thing about the Ricci. The Ricci would have given you enough value to get over 30k and get into 2nd, but you would have risked 4th in so doing. Instead, it's just going to take an incredibly insignificant 3rd here.
But that will mean Minko is the only one above 30k into the books here. Gonna go walk home with 26 points. Meanwhile, everyone else losing points here below the threshold. Yukitora only losing 1/10 of a point. Lancia, Luce is losing 5.8 points, and Korak taking out 20 points, 20.5 from their total. And the scores have been updated on your screen. We see Luce moving into, a little bit, I think just staying put there in 4th. And Kinyon is in 5th now. Minko is into the positives on that one in 8th. And Korak moving just above the demotion line with negative 19.8.
Yeah, that was an absolutely huge win from Minko and a pretty tragic loss for Korak. Although, we talk about where the demotion line and such is, and that's really more of a mental thing at this point in the season. I mean, there are still 19 Hanchan left to play. That is so much Mahjong. I mean, Beechin could still demote, really, at this point.
I mean, you see Hong in the demotion line. I don't see him going, well, he's only played 2 games as well, so he's got plenty of time to make that back up.
He missed 2 Hanchan, unfortunately, during the last
that's
session.
right.
So that is how that occurred.
Gotcha. I remember that now.
Or missed the first 2 Hanchan of this session, something like that. One of the 2.
Well, it couldn't be missing 2 of this session because it just started.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So yeah, it started just last night officially. But we also have another game in A1 that has just started. We will catch up with the delay here in just a few minutes. Any other major takeaways from that game? I mean, it was very close until the very end. It's kind of my takeaway from it.
Well, it was very close until the very end, but we shouldn't forget that part of the reason it was so close is because Ming Ko, who was so far behind, got that massive sumo in South 2? South 3?
It was South 3. No, you're right. It was South 2 going into South 3. Think.
That brought everybody within a couple thousand points. So an absolutely electric game. Something else that I was thinking about, there were so many hands in that round where the efficiency was really hard to judge. Either the efficiency going for value. Korak had a very interesting 789 Sanshoku hand where he basically kind of refused Pinfu the entire time. Didn't end up getting it. I do believe that was the hands that Ming Ko ended up getting the huge sumo on.
Yeah, we saw a lot of screen right now.
We saw a lot of very complex shapes as well, and I find myself wondering if it is more likely to see such wild, complex shapes in A1 as opposed to other leagues because the efficiency is so good here. And this also, I mean, Ming Ko's hand obviously is beautiful on the left, but Korak's hand is perhaps the most interesting play-wise. Like, the way he danced around this Sanshoku is incredibly fascinating. It's not like he was in a deep blast where that value was absolutely necessary. It's more that he was just always keeping the value as a possibility. Like, you see that 9-mon just floating next to the 6-7 for an eternity, and I believe here discards the 9-peen.
Right. My eyes were focused on that the whole time, but I mean, you're right. That was quite a maneuver to keep that in play. That's why that shape was left awkward like that for so long.
And then the immediate fold once Ming Ko calls that Ricci. Like, discarding the 8-so out of the middle of that shape.
Cutting the losses there, but little does
And I didn't realize how thin Ming Ko's weight was. I spent so much time just thinking about all of the different conclusions of what would happen according to how he won, but the only 5-mon was stuck in the hand Kenyon's hand across the table. One of the 8-peen's already been discarded. The other one stuck in Luce's hand on the right, and 2 of the other 8-mon are stuck in Luce's hand on the right. That 8-mon that Ming Ko drew was the only tile in the wall that Ming Ko could possibly win on.
And that was the ticket to victory there, pretty much. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that sumo, that 10,000, it was the biggest play of the game and was definitely the most decisive one of this game. Well, it's now about 1:15, so I believe Game 2 will be starting here in just a little bit, in just seconds from now. Same 4 players going in. This is just a 4-player table here. Not worrying about any 5-some business at this point, but there we go. So
that was an absolutely wild Han-chan.
And I'm sure we're in for even more wild action now. As we get started, Kenyon is the first dealer now. The Dora is 7-so. We see one of those in the starting dealer hand. Sitting a little bit weird, though, when you have a lot of other compelling shapes in this hand to work on instead, but we'll see what happens there. Looking at Tech Bro's hand, we see some pairs already lined up, with a sequence locked in as well. Luce with a pair of the Haku right now, and a pair of the Manzu as well, and we see a good sequence locked as well. Also a pair of the Easts, for that matter. And on the left, Korak with some nice pairs and shapes forming up there at the moment. Kenyon picking up an Anko of the 7-peen now. That's progress.
Discards the 8-mon. Again, with that floating Dora 7-so, this is kind of an awkward hand to build.
Right. I mean, you hope you see something like that happen, where now you can kind of pull that in. As we can see, there's not a whole lot of 6 so to go around.
And
9 would also finish that off, though, of course.
And an interesting situation to try and figure out what you need to discard. I mean, the 1 so basically has to be your pair. So the 3 so is unnecessary, but the 8 peen is even more useless in a lot of ways.
I was wondering why
the-
that hasn't been cut yet, but
And to some extent, it is going to be a safe tile as good as anything later on in the hand. I mean, it's one chance looking at just your hand alone. Korak Ishanten for Chitoidora 2 Tanyao.
Oh, there we go. Probably thinking about, again, which weight to go for here. Is going to hang on to the 3 mon, dropping the 5 pin.
Yeah, Korak's discard's looking more and more suspicious around the table, I assume. Discarding all these middle tiles. Gonna discard the 9 so for good measure. 2 have already been cut, so not a particularly good weight. You'd also lose the Tanyao. There's the 9 peen. Now you could discard the 1 so, and Kenyon does. Tempai for loose, waiting on the 1 peen and 4 peen for Hakudora 1. Would you call the East if it came out of someone's hand?
In Luce's case, I think I would. This is only the first hand. That's 2 Han. Granted, you're showing the 2 Han, but I would get to Tenpai, shut these hands down, and give myself a nice little lead to get started here. And there's the East right now.
I imagine Korak will hold on to that, though. It's a very good Chitoi tile. There's Tenpai for Kenyon now, waiting on... Oh, doesn't matter. The 1 peen is going to deal into the Hakudora 1 for loose.
There you go. Not the East we were just talking about, but that's still a good 2,000 point lead to get things started with, as we head into East 2. Minko starting us off with dealer now. The Dora is 8 so now. We're just doing right down the line. We see a couple pairs here and a sequence in the Manzu at the moment.
Yeah, and this looks like a hand that could pretty easily get a 4-5-6 Sanchoku.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of middle tiles here for sure. I will point out the early call by Kenyon here to get the Chun. And in that hand, we see what could turn into a Honitsu. With the other shapes not quite... Well, I'd say that, and that 4-5-6 is pretty nice for speed there. Now that's just about... Well, not quite Ishanten, but around Shanten.
Now
Well,
Ishanten.
Now it's Ishanten, yeah, right as we're talking about that. We'll go to the right now. We see a good presence of the Pinzu right now with a one of those not quite Ipeko, but it's 2 sequences that are kind of meeting together in the middle there. Picking up that pair of Manzu will help as well, as they drop the north.
It is Ishanten.
That is Ishanten. Korak, on the other hand, oh, that's pretty close. We're seeing some closed weights still have to maneuver around with, but with that fancy footwork we saw last time, that should be no tall order for him.
Yeah, fancy footwork is still hard to make a 3 shots in hand compete with 2 Ishanten hands and then a dealer Tenpai here waiting on the 4 peen and the 7.
Yeah,
Not
that is
peen.
true.
What are the red ones with the little black shapes on top called? Manzu. That's it.
Or it means like millions in Japanese. But there's the 4-mon picking up now. Richi Ipatsu with...
Urasan! The 9 so Anko flipped as the Ura and Minko with another massive sumo to break open the second Tanchan of this series.
And that was still looking like a pretty good sumo at the start, but that just launches it into the stratosphere. Once again, Minko, the only player above 30k, and by a significant margin.
The big difference here is that we are now in East 2 as opposed to South 3, so a lot of time for everyone else to catch up.
Absolutely. And this hand is underway. The Dora is 2-so, and that could fit in this hand. We see the 1 pin and some... Oh, that's drawing my eye, but it's kind of sticking out in this hand, I guess. Otherwise, some good shapes here to possibly bring things around to scoring range. But loose right now, on the 3-so, has some good shapes in the other ones. A pair of the Souths, which is the seat win for them. Up across, we have an early call of the East by Korak. That's the round win. And close to an open Ipeco, not that that has any points, but that will set off another sequence there. And Yukitora with a good Anko of the 7 pin now, and a good shape and a sequence of the Manzu as well. So things looking good for them as well. Yeah, just catching my breath after that very sudden reverse change of fortune for Ming Ko.
Yeah, I've been shouting so much that my throat hurts now, and I blame it all on Minko.
Well, be sure to stay hydrated out there, everybody, in Chatland as well. Especially in this heat that some of you may be experiencing. Things are still definitely above 100 degrees, even though the sun has gone down here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. But meanwhile, we have Tenpai across the table with Korak waiting on the 8-so, rather. And now that's Tenpai for loose as well. They're waiting on the 5 and the 2.
Of P.
Yes.
Loose with a slightly better hand here, as that is Tanya Aldora 2, although Korak's Tone Chanta is pretty nice as well. Oh, Minko!
Another Tenpai here.
4-peen, 7-peen, that's Riichi Tanyao Penfu.
Don.
Then there's the 2.
And Korak got a deal into loose.
Gonna lose some points there to loose with with a Dora 2. Tanya, I believe?
Yes, Tanya.
Okay, there we go. That moves the dealer along to loose now. See, a hand starting with lots of honors right now. You have some decent-looking shapes in the other suits, but I think you'd get rid of the Sozu right away, but decides to drop the North. We'll see about that. And Korak now, look at this hand. Quite a good presence of the Manzu right now. In fact, I believe that could turn into a very easy Honitsu. Looking across at Kinyan's hand, we see some good, encouraging shapes right now. That 5 is going to complete a sequence in the Sozu. And on the left, in Minko's hand, we see some edge shapes that could turn into a Chanta or Junchan even. But you have some other shapes you kind of got to reconcile with first. So everybody's got their work cut out for them at the moment. We'll see how this develops. Loose deciding not to call the South. Of course, that's not Yakuhai in this case, and you've got 2 other pairs. Actually, 3 other pairs. That's a total of 4. Korak, though, taking a stride into the Honitsu with that 1-2-3 pickup. Korak in the rather far last right now. It still has maybe a few moves to catch up. Definitely looking to do so here, picking up the White Dragon to have a pair of the white and greens, along with all that Manzu. The Dora is 5 Mon, we should point out, and he's got one of those as well, so definitely a real banger of a hand coming up. Could even pick up another one on the way out.
Ishanten for Chitoy now for loose.
Oh yes, that's true. Picked up another hand. Another pair while we're not looking. Meanwhile, Korak picking up, it's not another Dora, but it's going to bring things around that 5, 6, 7 range to make this easier to convert with. That 5 is definitely going to make things great to convert with. That's another Dora. Now waiting on the white and the green. We only see one cut right now.
So Honitsu, Yakuhai, Dora 2, that's going to be a Mangan.
Definitely the points he needs right now. That's going to launch him up and possibly take somebody down with him. Well,
yeah, any win puts him in the third minimum.
Absolutely. Though we're kind of at that point where people start to get a little suspicious about dropping dragons, but as we can see at this point, nobody has them. No one's holding on to them. Except for the Chun sitting in Minko's hand, possibly being held as a safe tile here.
Yeah, well, you do have to be thinking, like, Korak has made a terminal chi here, and you have to be wondering what the Yaku is, but if you just draw it yourself, it doesn't matter whether anyone is willing to drop it or not. That is going to launch Korak all the way into second.
Incredible, and just striking distance away from that all-important 30k threshold. As we move into East 4, taking a look at his opening hand right now as Korak takes the dealership, we see a good presence of the Pinzu right now. Have sequences in that suit and some other encouraging shapes at the moment. Minko already calling a 9-pin pawn there. That's fun to say. And has some good dragons and honors to go along with that. And we'll just shift over to the other call that just happened here. Minko calling the white dragons has a great chance at Honitsu there as well.
Kenyon called the white dragons, Minko called the nines.
You're right. Minko. Yes. Definitely looking competitive there. Let's look at Luce's hand. Has the Dora 6 Mon in hand right now. That's part of a good shape in the Manzu. Otherwise, though, except for a shape in Pinzu, you got some work to do to convert with this one. That 7 will help.
Minko's still waiting on that tune. But with no tune on the table, and with Kenyon having open palms of the Haku and the Hatsu, Minko's Atazuke now looks significantly worse because no one's going to want to drop the tune here.
Absolutely. And it's kind of a deja vu of the last hand with Korak. You're seeing those whites and the greens being a deciding factor, except this time you're going to need to pick up a crucial Sozu to bring this half flush into the scoring.
I mean, most Sozu do make this hand tempai. A 2 will work, a 3 will work, a 4 works, a 5 works, a 6 works, a 7 works, an 8 works, and
now
a 9.
Minko moving into tenpai with the north and the red they're looking for. So the red I don't see coming out with the 2 called pawns right now. So Korak definitely going to clutch that to the end here, I believe.
I am imagining the heart attack someone could have if they do discard the tune and then hear the wrong sound, and if it takes them a second to realize he called wrong. The tune coming into
no!
Hand. Oh no! Obviously, it can never become Daisongen, but it is.
They didn't see that. None of the reds are on the board yet.
Right. No, I mean, it can't become Daisongen, but can get Tenpai for Shosangen, and would have Tenpai for Shosangen, but as soon as Minko drew the Forso, bail might not be the right word, but immediately started playing around it, not willing to discard the Forso into the obvious Honitsu from Kenyon.
Ooh. Yeah, that's tricky. Another Sozu picked up now. And Luce picking up more Sozu. Gonna build some... Meanwhile, Luce has been working on this, looks like a Tanyao, but you don't want to drop that 9-so for fear of what Kenyon might do with it.
Korak Ishanten for Chitoy once again. Korak hates Chitoy. Like Korak publicly hates Chitoy and mentions it often. But
We are
has
back in
been so
Tenpai
close.
for Yukatora now. Waiting on the Chun for Shosangen.
Home.
Shosangen Honitsu.
That's right. We saw everybody kind of abandon their Tenpai, just being way too afraid of what might happen with those Chun. They're all about to see.
Korak could actually end up Tenpai on the Chun as well if he's able to get into Tenpai on this last draw.
Let's see. That's...
Discarded so many 8-peen.
Well, now this is the last draw for Kinyan. Gonna put that 7-so back and take the lone Tenpai payment here. 3,000 points. And moves the dealership to Kinyan. As we move into the half. It is South 1. The Dora is 8 mon. And this is a pretty nice looking opening hand for this South round. A pair of the Manzu Anko of the 2-so, with a sequence there as well you could turn into. You have some honors to kick things around as well, and one of them is Yakuai. A good presence of the Sozu on the right, looking at Minko's hand. I don't think you go for the Honitsu here, but especially after all these Honitsus we've been seeing, I think everyone's a little tired of them. Looking up at Luce's hand, we see some pairs, some encouraging shapes, but nothing really that concrete there. The blocks are coming in.
You're allowed to call a hand bad sometimes. Luce's hand just feels icky.
I don't like to put anybody down that hard, but you do have a Dora in this hand, you know. It's not completely worthless, let's just say that. Korak, meanwhile, that's looking very nice. I mean, that's just about ready to go here, except for that awkward Manzu shape. But there's a Dora there as well. That's what's keeping this hand awkward, but having some value as well.
I do imagine that Dora will come out the moment the 3-peen, 6-peen, or a 4-mon is drawn.
But what if you get a 9-mon or a 7-mon before then? Just saying. The shape forms around it. Oh, there it goes. So,
yeah,
that
discarding it. I mean, the average Tenpai, I believe, is around turn 9. So discarding the 8-mon on turn 7 while you're still waiting. Oh my god, it is immediately punished the next 8-mon draw. But it was a very reasonable discard of the Dora at that point. You pull in the Haku, which, as Korak often says, turn 6 or 7 is about when it becomes feasible to start thinking about keeping a safe tile. And so he was following his own advice there and got burned a little, although discards it now with the more complex Pinzu shape.
Meanwhile, the dealer is having their hand come together quite nicely. Could have 4, 5, 6 Sanshoku. Well, that would be a little bit much to ask, I think, at this stage of the game. But otherwise, you have a hand that can very easily convert, and when you're dealer, that's all you need. Especially with Luce going to Tenpai here. We're now waiting on the 3-mon only. And discarding that 2-mon means a lot of people are going to kind of think twice before dropping a 3-mon. We only see one of them right now in Korak's hand.
Just Riichi Dora 1.
There's the 3-mon drawn in, and that'll fit. Good weight there, but there's the other 3-mon drawn immediately after. For Riichi, Sumo, Dora, and an Ura Dora, because it's the same one underneath.
Gets the Mongon out of nowhere.
Some lucky 7s, indeed. That's going to be a good contender now to Minko's lead, which looked very hard to catch just a few hands ago. That'll be Minko taking on the dealer now, though, so we'll see what they can do with this. The Dora is 4 pin, and that is very much could work in this hand, keeping that there for that Pinzu shape. And we see some other shapes here as well. Got a little bit of work to go with that, though. Loose.
Thorax taking the West pawn.
Oh, there we go.
That looks like a pretty clear toy hand. The only issue is the 5-mon, which is going to be pretty hard to call, but the 2-mon, 9-mon, and 9-peen all look pretty fantastic.
Absolutely. And if you have to bail with that, you've got the West called. That's a Yaku. Picking up
now
an
you
East
can even get rid of the 5-mon. I mean, this could shift to Honroto if you draw another Eternal Honor as you start discarding the 5-mon. Discards the Haku, though, with one already being discarded, taking the more efficient route rather than the more expensive one.
Loose completing another sequence in this hand now. The good series of sequences and pairs. Korak picking up the 9-pin. That makes him a step closer to Toy Toy. We'll probably see the other 5-mon drop pretty soon. And there's the Easts. There goes the 5-mon. Now Tenpai on 2 and 9-mon.
And I mean, this hand looks pretty scary. I would expect the 2-mons a lot easier to come out than the 9-mon. I mean, you can see that those 5-mon are pretty obviously Tadashi, having both been discarded after pawns. And then a Khan!
Ooh, a Khan!
8-mon as Dora, which helps, well, not Korak. It gives Kenyon a Dora, and it gives Loose.
It gives Loose. Now, Loose now has 4 Doras in this hand. So that definitely changes the complexion to a pretty nice hand to a instant Mongon. If you can get the rest of this together, which is getting harder and harder to do as you're looking at Korak's hand just continuously building here.
I am curious if anybody's going to be willing to discard the 9-mon into this with all of those early middle tile discards, 3, 6, 5 right off the bat. I mean, you could pretty easily be scared of Honroto, but the 2-mon Sumo is going to get it.
Toy Toy with something else there I missed just before the transition.
West.
Shah. Oh, that's right. The West, of course. Shah. Now we move into South 3. The Dora is Tuso. We see a great presence of the Pinzu in the opening dealer hand. The little Banzu hanging out to the side. And the Sozu has a little bit of a shape there, but that could be easily jettisoned if necessary. Loose is sitting still in that close second, only 3,800 points behind the leader at this point. We'll see what they can do to bridge that gap. Not far behind Loose, though, is Korak with 31,000. And we see some good sequences in this hand. Some good shapes coming together. That could get competitive very quickly. Kinyan, meanwhile, has a sequence in this hand and some Easts, but not a Yaku. Oh, that the pair of Wests, though, will definitely help things out, though. Minko seems to be taking an early step towards a quick Tanyao to just get out of this increasingly scary situation, calling that 2-3-4 early on. Has some great sequences in Sozu just about locked in, waiting on that 7 send this to Tenpai. Has a 2 now.
Yeah, the 7-8 shape was flirting with Furitan with the 9-peen already discarded, and to get your Tanya, you'd have to pull in the 6-peen. So that Tuso is a very nice upgrade.
Very much so. Now you just need to get that last bamboo tile, last Sozu tile, to get through this. Loose seems to be going for Tanyao as well here, with a 7. Another similar situation, waiting on a 7 to really get this going into Tenpai. So it's 7 of a different suit, of course. There is that 7. Go ahead and call Chi on that. Now Tenpai waiting on the 3 so and 6. And those are tiles that are sitting pretty in these hands right now for both Kinyan and Minko. So I doubt we see those come out, especially this 3 that just got drawn, but it does make things a little awkward. A little clunky. It's still plenty of power in this hand, though. But there's the 3 so picked up by Luce. Not a lot of points, but you don't need a lot of points when you're dealer. That 1 Han hand puts to 34,400. Now coming even closer to the lead now, as we head into a continuing South 3. The door is 5 so, and we see a lot of great so, including that 5 so in this hand. Some good shapes in the Pinzu as well, including, well, it's a completed sequence. Doesn't get much better than that. Good pair pickup as well, so this hand could go many ways. Similar situation for Korak right now. Has a lot of Manzu and a lot of Sozu at the end of the line there. That 2 pickup is pretty interesting as well. See what he does with that. Going to drop the 8 to pick up another pair. Meanwhile, Kinyan with a good sequence in this hand and a open weight in the Manzu as well. Has an edge weight now picking up for the Sozu and some good shapes to help that finish out.
Oh, Korak taking the 9 Manchi.
There you go. Another terminal call. Going to push on this and also strike a little bit of fear into the other players once again. Seeing that terminal call.
And then Luce immediately discarding the 4 Mon.
Ooh, that's gutsy, and that's going to get picked up as well. Korak knocking on the door of Honitsu here can easily take the lead with this hand. That leaves Minko with 3 Manzu that are kind of just hanging out to the side. I mean, it's still early on, but I don't really see... Well, puts down the 9. Never mind. I guess the 9 still looks pretty safe, even given these circumstances.
Tenpai on the 3 and the 6 now for Korak. The ugliest possible Arianmen you could have.
Indeed. Meanwhile, Luce picking up the 5 pin, not backing down from this confrontation.
There is a single Mon left for Korak to discard here. Not discard, draw.
Someone else could discard it.
Someone else could discard it, Korak could draw it. Yes, that's it. If it's the 6 Mon, that would be Chinitsu Itsu for a Hanuman. If it is the 3 Mon, it'll be Chinitsu only for the Mangan.
Big hand winding up here. I don't see any more Manzu really dropping, though, if that one gets drawn by another player.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little surprised how willing everyone was to drop Manzu at the midway point of this hand.
Yeah.
I often find myself hesitant, especially if I'm sitting in, say, Luce's position, to feed the flush person. And now Korak with a much better situation here. Although Luce is going to get the sumo! And that's going to drop Korak below 30k. So Korak went from thinking that he had a 3-sided weight to get himself into first to now being in third below 30k.
As it stands, Luce now crossing to the lead themselves there. 37,700 points. Not out of the woods with Minko still hot on the heels. We still see a lot of Sozu in this hand now. It's Luce's turn for this. With a east, west, and north sitting on the end there. And an edge weight on the Pinzu. But I think that gets dropped pretty quickly, and there it goes.
And
Korak.
Korak is just done with all of this waiting around nonsense. Is calling everything, it feels like, these last couple of hands. Has gone Antazuke with the Hatsu here. Has one of the Dora 5-peen, is holding on to it for now.
Well, we see the Dora 5-peen getting dropped out of Luce's hand. They're not playing around either. They know they've got a lead, and they've got to get moving if they want to really cement this in time. Korak calling the green dragons now. Definitely becoming a raging bull here who's definitely just had it with this match. Another Khan. Flip over that Dora. It's now 9 Mon. That helps nobody. Especially with one of them already discarded.
Have we even gotten to Kenyon's hand yet? Because holy cow.
Yeah, I was looking at that and wow, you got Anko of the 8-pin. Anko of the 6-pin. I mean, that's a easy Honitsu here. Shinitsu if you really want to get ballsy with it. But that's what you might need to at this stage of the game and being this far behind in points.
Yeah, Kenyon electing to stay closed, not taking that 5-peen chi. It was a viable chi, although it does mess with those very nice shapes a little bit. Is probably going to turn down the 7-peen as well, and immediately draws it, is rewarded.
You don't need to call when it comes right to you. Needs to be a Yaku for getting a triple mix sequence there. Or pure sequence.
Finally, it just draws in the Dora for themselves.
Wow. Okay, this has become a hand to watch. I mean, always was, but now especially. Meanwhile, Korak not getting really what he wants there, but, well, that might help. It does, in a way.
Korak finally Tenpai,
There
waiting
you
on the
go.
4-so and 7-so.
We see 4 and 7 as part of this big Sozu block in their hand. Gonna call the 1, 2, 3. Don't need to go Honitsu now, but seems to be angling towards that.
Korak actually had an opportunity to angle for Honitsu as well with that 7-mon draw. Elects not to take the Honitsu Ishanten, wants to stay Tenpai, being so close to the end here. Another 4-so coming into Luce's hand, discarding the Haku instead, as now that is Tenpai waiting on the 5-mon, although it is Yaku-less.
That's one more out of the wall, though, for Korak, who's looking to really get in this conversation for the lead, at least, with this hand.
Thinking really hard about the South, which is surely going to get pwned by Kenyon.
There you go. Honitsu, very easy to call here.
This is the funniest Champon weight I have ever seen. 6-peen, 8-peen, because you have a sequence 789, a sequence 567. So
and
you have
pairs in both.
Can you win on anything else? I mean, I don't see anything else red.
I don't think
so. Feel like it, but Luce is going to deal into Korak for 1,300. Not enough to change any positions, but does bring Korak back above 30K.
And now with that dealership is definitely in the definitely not out of this game yet. Has a chance to really strike back. Only 30K or almost 40K away from really both first and second. So this is a very doable task for Korak to get into the lead in this all last situation. The Dora is 4
especially
mon.
as dealer.
Was that?
I just said especially as dealer.
Oh yes, of course, of course. The 4 mon is the Dora. Could very easily fit in this hand with all that Manzu just sitting out there nice and pretty tonight. We see a good couple of shapes in the other suits as well, so we'll see what happens there. Kenyon, on the meanwhile, has a good couple of pairs there as well, and some other encouraging-looking shapes. Got a pair of the white dragons as well. Mingko has, well, some pairs, but not much else. Well, you got a sequence in Sozu as well. And Luce, with a sequence already locked in of the Manzu, and we have a pair there in the Sozu as well.
everybody with kind of awkward shapes here, other than Korak.
Hmm. Yeah,
And even Korak stuck with so many Kanchans.
Mm-hmm. And it's just feeling frustrated that you're getting every Manzu but the Dora right now. That would be so nice to add to this hand.
Now has
Perfect
the
addition.
Ryanman Kanchan Ishanten and can incorporate that Dora, as you said, but would have been
There's the
Tenpai.
two. Oh, wow. Very close. That's what I've seen a lot with Korak this game. He's been very close to great hands, but only really seem to convert on the small ones right now.
I mean, just nothing looks like it's quite coming together for anyone else.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult situations. Kind of loggerheads here.
Korak
he's going to call the
Chi.
Now Tenpai on the 7-mon.
And the 4.
You're right, and the 4.
So Tanyao, at the very least, could be Tanyao Dora 1. We do see 3 Dora now in Minko's hand across the way.
Those aren't going to leave. Not easily. Not without force.
I think it would take a large amount of force to make Minko discard one of the Dora at this point.
Not at gunpoint. It'd have to be tank point.
Tank point?
Anyway.
I don't know why that tickled me so much.
Kenyon, meanwhile, is making some progress.
Ooh.
Dropping the... Ooh.
Minko Dama! Pinfu, Dora 3! No, it's not Pinfu. You can't have Pinfu in an Anko. That's not how Pinfu works.
Oh.
Wait, so this is Yaku list.
No. Yeah, it's Yaku, because...
6-peen, 9-peen.
Wait, no, that's Tanyao. Right?
No, you have a 1-so.
Wait. Are we looking at...
I'm looking at Minko's hand.
Okay, I'm looking at Kenyon's hand.
I'm trying to figure out why Minko didn't call Ricci, because Minko has all the Dora in the world.
Yeah. It's 4-10. Okay. Eric joining in the chat.
Oh, there we go.
It's 4-10.
You
got a Khan now. Dora Khan. There you go.
Sumo! It's a red shot on the 7-bean Taki!
Oh my lord! Mamma mia! 12,000.
What on earth? Rinshan, Sumo, Dora 4 to drop Korak below 30k and to take a huge first!
My lord, some people saying, spoiler in the game log, that was it right there. A very sudden, they were only about 700 points behind the leader, and then that just blows you past the stratosphere. Incredible finish there. Minko is going to go home with 32 points off of that crucial con. Luce taking 7 points themselves. Korak, sadly, not coming together on that plan to shoot in himself, going to lose 9 points. And Kenyon losing 30 points in a rather difficult loss, but wow, that just smashed through at the very end there. I believe the scores are updating, and there they are.
Minko, it should be noted, was at about -30, -40, something like that, before these 2 games, and with 2 firsts has immediately launched all the way up the leaderboard. And this is what we mean when we say your position matters almost not at all so early in the season. Things change so fast.
Yeah, we're seeing that right now. Luce now in second. Again, still, was that where they were pretty much at the start of this? Second with just, well, there's a lot of people in the 60s, about 50 points behind Bishen's score there. Korak going down to 29 points below par. Good collection of wins and losses there. But again, anything can happen. And of course, Kenyon sitting in 6th with 25 points even.
Whew.
Take some time and gather yourself there. That was that was a lightning strike there. I mean, that's what you always see in a lot of the, let's say, flashier Mahjong apps, where you see that giant. I'm thinking of Mahjong Fight Club, especially, where you see like the whole screen just start to pulsate, and then you just see, bam, sumo. That's exactly what we saw there from Minko tonight.
Well, you had said that it would take a tank to make Minko discard one of the Formon, and Minko just kind of turned into the explosives himself.
That's what I was saying. Little did we know Minko was driving the tank. And you see the full lineups here in the whole ARML. With, yes, again, Loose moving into a close second. Distant to the first right now, but again, anything can happen. We're still very early on, especially with only 6 games in is the most anybody has right now. We're fighting for that coveted spot for the summer thing to join Eric and Hong in, I believe it's kind of the Super Bowl of this league, where we take all 4 league champions and put them into a Hanchan together or something.
The league championship, I believe it will be called.
Yes. For the whole year. Oh.
It's kind of interesting looking at the top 4 in across all of the divisions. No last places for any of the top 4 in A1, 2 in A2, 1 in B1, 3 in B2, and then none in B3 again. And look at the differences in the scores. This is something that's always so fascinating, comparing the divisions about, like especially A1 and B3. In B3, 4th place has a score that would be 2nd place in A1, which just shows you like how tight A1 is across the board.
Absolutely. But we also got to point out that B3 does have a wave of new players in it this season. So I don't know if these are all the new players. I don't have that info in front of me right now, but they're definitely distinguishing themselves in that pool. As Precisely M putting in the chat, if you look at the whole line there's definitely a lot of spread in that division. So you're seeing the cream rising to the top there for sure. As we'll see if these people can. I mean, that'll be something to watch with any new players entering right now, to see if they can punch their way up through all the divisions and get into A1. That would be quite neat to see if they just go every season, promote.
It's also a fun thing about having joined the ARML when it started and comparing what getting to A1 looked like for someone in the beta league compared to what getting to A1 looks like for someone now. So, in the beta league, it was incredibly hard to get into A1 because you had to come in the top 3 in your division, or win in a very tight, very limited playoff. So it was difficult, but you could get straight there. Now, if you enter in at B3, it's going to take you 12 weeks to get to B2, 12 weeks to get to B1, 12 weeks to get to A2, and then 12 more weeks to get to A1. So, that's 48 weeks to get from B3 to A1 minimum, if you promote every single time. Now, granted, that's way, 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 way faster than it would be if you were in, say, the Japanese Mahjong League, where only like 2 people promote every time. But still, that's quite a time commitment. So we're going to get to the point, especially, say, a year from now, where everyone in A1 is going to be a hardened veteran, even if they only started playing Mahjong when the ARML started.
That's quite a prospect to put forth, indeed. I believe we're looking now at that large spread we were mentioning in the B3 right now, coming up on your screen. Yeah, you can see it there. Oh, well, look at this. You only get to the negatives just below the cut line there. Of course, well, we do see quite a few people who don't have any games logged as of yet.
Well, I think there's like 36 people in B3, 32, something like that.
Yes, there's yeah, that's right. We're looking at only the bottom 10 are cut off from this view. So that's what I'm hearing on my comms right now. So yeah, so you're not seeing the very bottom of it, but still, that is quite a spread. I mean, you're looking even from here, just a lot of players just incrementally going down from 113 down to -9 at just 24th. You know, that's still a lot of hard-hitting players right now.
God, this is bonkers. Look at the EV. There are 5 players with quadruple-digit expected value in B3. I mean, we had a conversation at the end of last season that no one had a 4-digit expected value in A1 at all. That might have changed for Huang after the absolute, nuclear bomb of a session 6 that he had, but still, that is just such a massive gap between players there. And then you actually have someone with above 1,000 that I missed in 9th.
Oh, I see. Yeah, above 1,000 in. Yeah, that's incredible. So we have a lot of, like you said, cream rising to the top. Also seeing some pretty crazy looking call rates from 72.5, but I think that might have more to do with the fact that I believe that might be these players' first 4 games in the ARML. So you're going off of a very limited set. So you make just a few calls, that's going to look a whole lot more weighted in this case. But I mean, still, you're seeing some play styles forming in pretty early on, and we're going to see if those can keep hold tightly here, moving on through the season.
Got 72.5% call rate. I can't even comprehend that. I had the lowest participation rate of any player in the beta league. I had like a 20% participation rate or something absolutely wild like that. And to see a 72.5% call rate just absolutely blows my mind. Expected value for this league, for those who are not familiar with it, it is not a pure expected value. It is a kind of simplified one. You just take win percentage versus your average win. So that would be the expected value of, the hands that you win. You take your deal-in times your deal-in percentage times your average deal-in score. That's a negative, of course. You subtract that from whatever your win percent times your average win score was, and that gives you your EV. Now, I say that's simplified because it does not include Ryokuku, it does not include exhaustive draw, it does not include sumo loss. When someone else wins a hand, but you lost points due to sumo, either as dealer or not. So it is a very simplified expected value, but if you look at the results from all of the past seasons of the American Regi Mahjong League, even being simplified, it is still by far the best indicator out of any of our stats as a single indicator for where you will position in your league. Now, it's kind of cheating to call it a single indicator when it is a combination of 4 different stat values, but
together it's like it's the Megazord of stat values in this league. Come on, Power Rangers? Huh?
I was whistling and looking away, pretending that I didn't get your reference until you had to point out that there was no response.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, that is a good stat to have on hand. In which case, I mean, again, I think it's still a bit too early to call that the definitive when a lot of these players, this might be their first 4 games ever in the ARML.
Oh,
so
yeah. I mean, that 1,600 expected value could pretty easily become negative 1,000 with 20 more Hanchan. So it's not that the expected values now are an indicator of where people will place. At the end of the season, the placement will line up with the expected value pretty closely, is what I meant to say.
Gotcha. That makes sense, yeah. Well, that was a lot of crazy action tonight, and there were actually, as our broadcast director, Jeremy, is pointing out. We missed 2 of those B3 games tonight because they went by very quickly while we were watching the A1s. Let's take a look at the game results there. I do have them up in front of me. Looks like it was a pretty defensive struggle, at least in game 2, with Jessa, Christine, Aliena, and Kevin. My apologies if I got some of those names mispronounced. At least in the game 2, it was pretty well hard fought defensively. But looking at the game 1, you see a whole lot more happening here. There was a Hanemon in East 3 that Christine stole, and that was who eventually got the win. So that you see those 2 graphs, and you just see like possibly game 1 where they're learning how each other plays, getting that together, and then game 2 where they put those strategies into action and they all just kind of work. No one getting over 3,900 in that game 2. So pretty interesting. Yeah, you see that on your screen right now. That's game 1 you're looking at. But yeah, so Christine taking over.
Only 2 hands that were Mongon or above, and they're both Hanuman.
Mm-hmm. Played by Christine and Kevin, respectively. Wow.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. I kind of need to see people's either Discord handles or Tinho handles to really understand who's who. I know that last place in the first game was Jamcat because they've been around since Beta League, I'm sure.
Right, I remember them. Oh, we see a lot of them in the chat speaking now, so or some of them anyway. Me next team.
Jessa is Trash Eagle, which congratulations, you have one of the best names. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to compete with names like Light Pink Yoshi and Kanye West, but Trash Eagle is still pretty brilliant.
So there it is right there. And you can see these games going really quickly. I mean, I'd say 45 is about the average for games in the league. I don't have stats on that. I'm just guesstimating here.
What did you just call the average? 45 minutes?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what just me taking mental notes between every game I've either commentated or been involved with.
I would guess 37 minutes and 48 seconds, personally.
That
just to be
like
a contrarian here.
Okay. Oh, I mean, that's the average of these 2 games, just about. If you do fast math, which I'm sure you're good at, math teacher.
I mean, this is actually a pretty... If you want to hear me do math on stream, I could. I mean, since the seconds are so close, it wouldn't be difficult, but I don't really feel like it. I've been shouting like pretty consistently for the past 3 hours, so...
This is true. Yeah, it's been quite an action-packed broadcast, and I mean, that con was the sweet, giant cherry on top of it, for sure. So, definitely plenty more action to come here. This is only the start of Session 2. So, if you're not already, follow us right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/AmericanRichi. You can also find us on YouTube at, I believe that's tinyurl/ARMLYT. To find us there. Also, Twitter, as you see in the chat, at American Richi. Speaking of Twitter, you can find me there as well. I am at SB Singletary, where you can follow me on my own Mahjong journey and my hot takes about grocery store checkouts. I believe you, Ennui, we've had this kind of running thing that we can't really find you online, but you're like in a treasure chest somewhere, and I have to bring some.
I actually moved out of my treasure chest. Thanks for asking. Well, recently I got picked up by some adventurers, and they didn't actually like open the treasure chest and find me because they were scared I might be a mimic, and they carried me off to a castle and locked me in a dungeon somewhere. So actually, I would very much like it if you kind of went questing through the lands and found me. I'm currently in a very, very dark space. I'm very scared. My only solace is Mahjong. And at the very least, if you can't find me trapped in my treasure chest in a dungeon, I would like it if you came to the commentary stream tomorrow. Nathaniel and I will be broadcasting. I'm not sure if anybody else has signed up for that yet, but we will be streaming some games tomorrow, so be on the lookout there.
Absolutely, and you can find our Tenno channel for watching the games that we don't quite get to broadcast on our website, AmericanRicci.org. You see that link on your screen right now. That will do it for us for tonight, though. I've been Blaine Singletary. Thanks again, as always, Tucker, for calling this action with me. Good to have you back, of course.
It's been liberating and fun.
And, of course, special thanks to Jeremy for keeping us on the air tonight. And for all the chat for sticking around and watching this action with me. Absolutely a great night, but that'll do it for now. I'm Blaine Singletary for the ARML. Have a good night.